Win the Daytona 500, and it can change your whole life.
You wouldn't believe the functions and activities and excitement that goes along with winning the Daytona 500. It is amazing.
Win the Richmond 400, and you're in line for something even more exciting, $1 million.
When I won this race last year, it was my first step towards a championship. The game plan this year is exactly the same.
Lose the Daytona 500 and the 1989 Winston Cup Championship like this man did, and you're out for revenge.
I think we'll be as dominant here as we were at Daytona. Hopefully we can run all 400 laps, though.
The glitz and glory of the Daytona 500 are last week's headline. It's time for the scratching and gouging that will decide this year's championship. It's the Richmond 400, and it's only on TDS.
The following is a presentation of TBS Sports. Home of the 1990 Goodwill Games. Today's Pontiac Excitement 400 is brought to you by Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer. We build excitement. And by Coors. Coors, the Rocky Mountain original. And by Haviland Superior Grade Motor Oil. Fights sludge, protects engines. And by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference.
It is a bright, beautiful, sunlit day here at Richmond International Raceway. There's only one problem. It is cold. Frosty the Snowman would want time and a half for this one. Hello, everyone. I'm Ken Squire, and welcome to the Pontiac Excitement 400. 400 laps, 300 miles for 36 Winston Cup competitors vying for what potentially could be $600,000 today. But the story here are the temperatures. And no one can speak to that better than my Flatlander friend. He certainly is no Vermonter. Chris Economaki back with us.
Well, it is cold. It's way below freezing. Overnight, the automotive chemicals used by the crews froze in the tubes and in the cans. But the effect of the cold is going to be the important thing. These radial tires take a long time to heat up. They're concerned the cars will be skittish and in some cases uncontrollable. A stiff wind is blowing across here, very stiff. The weather is going to have an important factor in today's race.
Chris, do you ever remember it colder than this?
Not even at an ice race.
Barry Dotson, the crew chief for Rusty Wallace, was saying there's only one way to run this race, and that's to pretend you're a member of the Green Bay Packers. Let's go down to the STP Pit Center and join Dave Despain.
Well, Ken, if it is cold today, it was gloomy yesterday for Dale Earnhardt. Just a week after his heartbreaking last lap loss in the Daytona 500, he suffered another big setback here at Richmond. Take a look at the remains of Earnhardt's car, which he crashed yesterday in the final practice session on the first lap. Yes, he was a victim of cold tires in that incident. Now, the crew rolled a Rockingham Super Speedway car off the transporter after taking a look at all of this damage and assessed what it would take them to convert that car into a short tracker. This is the mess from yesterday. The spare that was in the truck had never been run on a short track. They concluded, and we quote, "Get us 2 cases of beer and 6 pizzas, and we'll be ready by noon tomorrow." They worked into the night. They were back at the crack of dawn today. They did their work in the warmth of the Goodyear garage, which is run by Huggins Tire Company. That's the NASCAR tire distributor. As a result, that car, which has been fixed and is on the pit road grid right now, carries a little 200-mile-an-hour tape sticker on the back that says Huggins Garage Special. Remember, 1987, Dale Earnhardt crashed in practice, took his car to a frame shop, fixed it, came back, started last, and won the race. A healthy Dale Earnhardt is a thing to be feared. A wounded Dale Earnhardt is awesome indeed. Let's find out the outlook for the man who will come from the back of the pack Pontiac. He's on the grid now with one of our 2 pit reporters today. Let's go to Steve Burns.
Thank you very much, Dave. Dale Earnhardt has been in this position before. Dale, you started them back in 1987 and came back to win. Would you have to let this car settle down a bit, or will you go right to the front?
Well, I don't know. We just had to see what the car is going to do. You know, it's a front steer car. I've tested it at Charlotte. I've never drove it on a racetrack like Richmond. So, well, we just sort of guessed at some springs and stuff and set it up. And Kurt and them did a good job last night and this morning. They just give it our best shot. I just hate what happened. We tore the car up, and you know, we just knocked ourselves out of a good run, I know, and hopefully we can come back and do it with this. And we crashed here one time and won the race with the same car, so maybe we can do it with a backup car.
Does that give you any more confidence, Dale?
I always got confidence in this team to, you know, put the car together right and everything. If we got the chassis anywhere close to where we can do some adjustments in the pits, we'll be good.
Thank you, Dale. Stay warm. Joining us now, our distinguished colleague, Charlie Harville.
All 36 drivers are eligible for the $50,000 or so first place money, but only one is eligible for the $220,000 that goes to the pole winner if he wins this race. That's the Unocal Challenge. Ricky Rudd, have you figured yet how much money you can win here today?
Well, Charlie, it's a heck of a lot of money. It looks like somewhere around close to $300,000 and then some, so I don't know. I think I'll give this calculator back to you. I don't want to worry about it. It might make me nervous.
Well, there's an IRS man standing right over here who wants to use it right now. Will you try to stay in front from the very beginning?
Well, we're just going to forget the money. We're going to race our race, and this Levi Garrett Exxon Chevrolet run real fast in practice. We qualified on a pole, and we've got to run our own race, and if we can do that and have our car handle good all day, we've got a shot at winning.
That's Ricky Rudd. Thanks very much, and good luck, Ricky. Back to pit control center.
The command to fire the engines has just been given as a calculating Ricky Rudd is ready to go from the point in the Rick Hendrick Chevrolet today. How cold is it? Well, our helicopter with our onboard camera equipment frozen up, and they're trying to unlimber that right now, Chris.
You know, the crews are concerned about the adjustments they've made on the cars. Radiators have been taped up. Oil coolers have been taped up. They know when they finally get to warm and operating temperature, they don't know whether they've taped up too much. NASCAR won't let you untape things like that. And the crew chiefs are concerned about the crews themselves, their hands freezing, whether they'll drop things. Some are concerned that some crewmen might get hurt. That's what the cold is doing along pit road.
It's warmed up to about 32 degrees as the engines get ready to go here today. And we'll be back for the start and the lineup on the Pontiac Excitement 400.
Richard, what kind of race will you run starting from the rear like this?
Very cautious. I tell you, on a cold day like this, where the tires, till the tires get heated up.
Rusty, as the defending champion of this race, are you confident with where you guys are right now in terms of preparation?
Yeah, I'm confident with the prep.
Yes. Fred.
With you live at Richmond, Virginia, waiting on the start of the Pontiac Excitement 400. It has warmed up to about 32 degrees here today. and the field shortly. They're giving them an extra length of time to get all these motors where they can actually race them, because right now those pistons and those rods are about as tender as a robin's wing as they try to get these cars ready to go. You see that the Earnhardt car is still in 4th position at this point, right behind the number 11, the red Budweiser car. There's the number 3, that's Earnhardt. He will go to the rear. NASCAR has a new policy this year. They put them in the position in which they qualified, and then when they come out on the preliminary laps, he will fall to the back, or anyone else that was needing to do so. Let's go back to the STP Pit Center. Here's Dave Despain.
And we should explain, Ken, that we're nice and cozy and warm here in our pit center tent today. We have one of the best spots to cover the race and one of the best pieces of equipment with which to do that. It's our Timex Speed Track computer. We've programmed in the track length, which is 3/4 of a mile, 75/100ths of a mile. Punch up a lap, and when the lap is finished, the Speed Track will automatically calculate the speed. Quickest lap we've seen thus far here, 119.617 miles per hour. Put Ricky Rudd on the pole, gave him a shot at that $220,400 bonus. We'll keep track of fast laps all day long. The driver who turns the fastest lap in the race earns a Speed Track for every member of his pit crew. Now, this long warm-up period is something unusual because of the freezing temperatures here today. It did give us an opportunity now to let you hear from a few more drivers in the pregame show, and we're pleased to have that opportunity. Just moments ago, we talked with another man who will start way in the back. The back row consists of 10 national championships total among 2 drivers. 7 of those belong to Richard Petty. Let's go to Charlie Harville.
Richard, what kind of race will you run starting from the rear like this?
Very cautious. I tell you, on a cold day like this, the way the tires get heated up and stuff, there'll be a bunch of frowning and bowing. So I imagine I'll have to be really, really cautious to begin with.
There is a driver with a history here at Richmond, and it's a good and bad history. 2 years ago, he feels he lost the Winston Cup Championship in a crash at this track, came back with a vengeance in 1989, and won both races here. That was critical to his winning the Winston Cup Championship. Steve Burns talked to Rusty Wallace.
Rusty, as a defending champion of this race, are you confident with where you guys are right now in terms of preparation?
Yeah, I'm confident with the preparation of the car. I just messed up qualifying. Just tried really not hard enough. I was being a little conservative qualifying. I was just a little too slow in the center of the corner. It cost me, but hopefully by pit stops and hard driving and good brakes, I get back up to the front. The car's working good though.
Rusty, being from the Midwest, you're no stranger to cold weather, but have you ever raced in weather this cold?
I don't think so. I mean, I've raced in a lot of cold weather, but it's pretty brisk down here. I mean, if it wasn't so windy, it'd be okay, but 32 degrees isn't real cold, but it's plenty cold enough for me right now, I'll tell you.
Rusty, we know it will affect the guys in your pit crew somewhat. Will it be a factor for you?
I think the only way it's going to affect them is that they got so many clothes on, they're going to be a little slow maneuvering around, and I hope they didn't go overkill on them. We'll see.
That is Rusty Wallace, and he sounds reasonably comfortable and confident, looking for his 3rd straight win on this racetrack, and he hopes the first step toward his 2nd consecutive Winston Cup Championship. Now, the cars are still sitting on pit road. That is very unusual, and as they begin to roll out now, the key here is the weather. They've given lots of time to warm the engines. Now, they will take extra pace laps before the green, and the purpose of that is to heat up the other key component today. It may prove to be the ultimately important component, and that is the tires. We're on radial tires today. They take a little longer to heat up. They don't stick until they're hot. That's what got Earnhardt in trouble yesterday. A lot of people are concerned about it here this afternoon. They may take as many as 5 warm-up laps here to get those tires up to temperature before they turn this field loose and head them on toward a green flag. Well, this is the Sunday after for the young man who carved his name in the Winston Cup stock car history books last week at Daytona International Speedway. But now it's just the first of the other 28 races this year. Let's hear from Derek Coe.
Derek, what kind of race will you run on a cold day starting from the middle of the pack?
Well, I think we're going to be pretty patient to start with and see how the tire reacts to this cold weather. But, you're going to have to be pretty quick to make a judgment there because these guys are going to be chasing you down, trying to lap you. So it's going to be a day where you got to run hard and be patient, too.
There's Rob Moroso in the number 10 car that won the Daytona 500. And let's take a look at the starting lineup for the Pontiac Excitement 400. On the pole, looking for that $220,000 bonus, it's Ricky Rudd, the 1984 winner. Beside him is Jeff Bodine, Junior Johnson Ford. In row number 2, it's Alan Kawicki. He could be dynamite out here today. He was great in practice yesterday. And Dale Earnhardt qualified in the 4th position. For row 3, it's Dick Trickle in car number 66, the Kelly Yarborough team car. And alongside is Mark Martin, who had the fastest laps in practice late yesterday. For row 4, there you have Kyle Petty, the former winner of this event back in '82, and Darrell Waldrop, who's won it in '81 and '80. In row 5, there's the rookie, the only rookie in the field, Robbie Moroso. And then comes Brett Bodine in the car number 26. Looking at the rest of the field for today's race, going to row 6, there's Sterling Marlin, and beside him, the '88 champion, Neil Bonnet. In row 7 is Ken Schrader and Morgan Shepherd. For row 8 will be Phil Parsons and Ernie Urban from Modesto, California. Row number 9 is Bill Elliott, and last year, defending champion, Rusty Wallace. In row number 10 will be Butch Miller and Derek Cope, winner of the Daytona 500. Row 11 is Jimmy Spencer, and along with him comes Harry Gant. That would be row number 11 as they're turning what we would call hot laps on a short track. Spencer on the inside, Gant on the outside for row 11. Row number 12 is Michael Waltrip. And we have one car that has slithered Butch Miller off the track as they're trying to get heat in the tires. In row 13 will be Terry Labonte and Rick Wilson. Row 14 today is Chad Little and Bobby Hillen Jr. Row 15 is Mickey Gibbs and Larry Pearson. Row 16, Davey Allison, Jimmy Means. Row 17 is Bill Meacham, who is making his first start in Winston Cup racing from Charlotte, North Carolina, and Rick Mast. And finally, the provisional starters today are the folks that are previous winners here, 76 and 82, Dave Marcus. And of course, Richard Petty, who has won this race on 6 previous occasions. One rookie in the field, 7 of, as we get ready to go, the race has been won from the pole 7 of the 29 times. 1 lap to green, and then they'll turn them loose here.
The field is interesting. It's 18 states are represented, Ken. 6 from North Carolina, 4 from Alabama, 3 from Wisconsin and Tennessee, 2 each Virginia, New York, Missouri, Michigan, Washington, and Texas, and 1 each from Arkansas, Connecticut, California, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Florida, and 1 from South Carolina for a sport that used to be concentrated in the southeastern quadrant. It spans the country now.
Ready for a start. Here on WTBS, 36 stations coming down. Live coverage of the Pontiac Excitement 400. Earnhardt in the back of the pack. And Butch Miller has fallen back after he slipped off this course. And it is letter perfect for ice skating. Let's see what it's going to be for racing this afternoon. As Ricky Rudd, Waddell Wilson prepared car, leads them down the line.
They're tiptoeing now, Ken. Those tires are not really hot enough to get a good hold.
And I think the issue is that when they come in and change tires, even if you go to scuffs, that's when it's going to get critical out here this afternoon. That first tire change. These tires, these radials have a little heat in them. Here's Alan Kawicki down on the inside, driving for second spot at number 7, and Bodine holds him off. 1 complete.
They're getting up to speed now, and another couple of laps we can stop worrying about the tires. The reason we talk so much about the tires is because this is the first race on radial tires. The bias-ply tires are much more forgiving than radials. Radials have a very stiff sidewall, and they say once a car starts to slide, you just can't pull out of it. It's going to spin, and that's what the concern. Whoops! Robbie Moroso in the main straightaway.
Spinning, and everybody getting by. Oh, Rick Wilson spins down to the bottom of the racetrack.
And Mike Alexander, Davey Allison, and Jimmy Means, but nobody really dinged anyone. It was just a sort of a dance, and that's exactly what we're talking about. The skittish cars, the tires are just not ready for racing yet.
2 laps complete. Now they combine a complete 3. Caution is out. Jimmy Means also caught up in that. No serious damage. Yellow is out. Let's take a look as to the why. Moroso spinning, coming out of turn number 4, and down below him.
The other drivers did a great job of missing him, Ken.
Yep. There you see Alexander's car. Davey Allison moved to the inside. Davey celebrating his 29th birthday today. We'll be back with more from a very cold Richmond, Virginia fairgrounds in a moment. Are we clear?
Yeah, Fred, if Ken was talking to me while you were talking to me, and I can't hear what he says when your key is down. You got to let him speak to me.
We have the old chopper working, huh? Great, Fred. Have both cameras, Fred? Fred, confirmation on something, please. We call this the Superstation TBS
now. When you get a chance, Fred, before too much time goes by, let's get a shot of the stands on showing these metal seats.
Just back underway. They've just put the green out. And here you see Ricky Rudd drawing away in his Chevrolet from two Fords running in second and third. Alan Kowicki and Jeff Bodine. Behind them comes the number 6 car, Mark Martin, in another Ford running in fourth. Those Fords looked really strong in practice yesterday. The 7, 6, and 9 car of Elliott. And here's Earnhardt in the number 3, sweeping up through traffic, moving under Terry Labonte. He's closing up on Chad Little here.
Earnhardt's really on the move. You mentioned the Fords up front. There's 10 of them in the race. 8 Pontiacs, 7 Chevrolets, 7 automobiles, and 4 Buicks make up the race field today.
Earnhardt running from the rear of the field, cutting through. He wants to get back up with those leaders. Doesn't want to get trapped back here. Moving in on Bobby Hillen now, and behind him comes Chad Little. Interesting story there. That's the Donlevy car. Junie Donlevy from Virginia, and he's running on brand new tires thanks to some friends like Rick Hendrick, who helped him out. Now look at number 25. There is Schrader moving in on Phil Parsons in the number 4 car, the Kodak number 4 car running in 12th. And right there with him comes Schrader. Schrader had fallen back. He picks himself up and moves back through the field. Back on the lead, going for that $220,000 skins game bonus. The man who wins the pole, if he can win the race, it was only done once last year by Rusty Wallace in the week after, and actually at Rockingham, North Carolina. Then it started building. Kowicki comes to the inside. Alan Kowicki, the Wisconsin driver, bottom of the racetrack. He likes it when it's cool. Very confident this morning. Comes to the line. It's Ford against Chevrolet for the lead. Live here on TBS from Richmond, and Kowicki plus Jeff Bodine take over those front 2 spots.
Well, it looks like he's got his car right. He's got a new and reinvigorated team this year, Ken, with additional sponsorships from Xerox and from Ford. And he's out front with Jeff Bodine and Junior Johnson's Ford right behind him. Rudd, the pole sitter, has fallen to third. Fourth is Mark Martin, who was very fast in practice last evening.
Front 4. Alan Kowicki not getting away here. Let's take a look at that original incident in replay when Moroso got in trouble up here and show you just how skittish these cars can be. This was the look from the Crown Petroleum car, just off the corner, gets down to the bottom, looked like he was going to tear into the wall there, gets it back, and then, hello, see you later. Wow.
Zig-zag around.
Lucky racer that he didn't get collected. Here's Moroso back on the track and rolling through traffic in car number 20, the only rookie running for Winston Cup rookie honors. and he's closing up on Jimmy Means. Charlie Harville has a report from the Moroso pits.
I'm here with Clyde Booth, the team manager. Clyde, was it the cold tires which caused the spin out?
Well, yeah, for about a lap, the tire's a little slick, but we knew that. What happened there is he got hit from behind and got turned around. And, of course, the tires being cold certainly didn't help it any. But he's out there now, and it seems like after you get 3 or 4 laps on them, they're fine, and then they run real good after that.
That's the story on Rob Moroso. Back to you.
And that face, a very familiar one up around Oswego. Now you're watching again as Earnhardt tries to find his way from the back of the pack up toward the front. Dale Earnhardt now being shown in 18th position. He actually started 34th when they dropped the green. A couple of folks just let him slide in back there. Here he is closing, coming down on Bill Elliott in car number 9. Moving in on Elliott is car number 3, Earnhardt, the man who dominated the Daytona 500 and ended up 3/4 of a mile shy.
You know, this is remarkable that this car is performing this well, Ken, because it's the first time they've run a front steer car here. They had to work on that car all night long to get it converted to short track specs, and it looks like they really know their business. It looks like it's on rails out there for Dale Earnhardt.
Just like it was back in '87 when he made that comeback. Here's the leader, Alan Kowicki, who's run well. He's been on the pole here before. Alan Kowicki into the main straightaway. This is the kind of track where he usually does very well. He's had a little trouble with restrictor plates on those big super speedways. Have a lot of those Ford competitors, but here he is out in front. And Jeff Bodine in the Junior Johnson car right there with him. Kowicki very pumped up, very confident about today after the practice period late yesterday. Very unhappy after qualifying. A piece of paper flew up by the timing light, created a situation where maybe or maybe not he could have had the pole.
Well, if Alan Kowicki wins the race today and has that lingering doubt as to whether the pole position should have been his, it's going to be a $220,000 issue.
5th place at stake. There's number 66, Dick Trickle. And here comes number 17. That's Darrell Waltrip right with him. Darrell Waltrip right behind the Cale Yarborough car being driven by Dick Trickle. And you're with Dick Trickle in the top Arctic Phillips, number 66. Pontiac automobile. What a run he made last week at Daytona.
Leader Alan Kowicki will be coming up to lap Richard Petty in about 3 more laps. Petty's having a tough time. Look through the windshield there. Dick Trickle showing us what it's like to be at the wheel at Richmond International Raceway. This track is unique. There's very little straightaway here. You can see it's a constant turn to the left for about 3/4 of the way around. The turns are back 14 degrees. The straightaway 8 degrees. The front straightaway, it's like a boomerang, and that short backstretch has a 2-degree pitch to it.
Bill Meacham, 29-year-old driver, making his first Winston Cup appearance out of Charlotte, just being overlapped by numbers 66 and 17. Trickle taking a high groove, and Darrell Waltrip stays right with him in the 17. Here it comes. Waltrip down low, twice a winner here, looks to the inside. Again, this is the kind of track where we've seen Trickle win so many races over so many years. Almost in contact right there at that critical turn 4. Yesterday, Mark Martin got into those sand canisters and hit the wall and tore up his V6 Ford.
That's right, those F5 Fibcos. There they are. Now here we have the leader, Alan Kowicki, putting a lap on Richard Petty, followed by Jeff Bodine. It must be tough for Petty to watch so early in the race to go a lap down.
He had trouble in qualifying. His first lap he was sideways all the way through 3 and 4. Never came up to speed and had to take a provisional starting position. Thus, Petty is in the field. This is the track that broke that skein of 513 straight starts a year ago. Look at Kowicki around Jimmy Means. He's got the handle on that machine. Alan Kowicki out in front. Jeff Bodine stays second. Mark Martin in third. Ricky Rudd, the pole sitter, looking for that $220,000 400 bonus. He's back in fourth. Dick Trickle in fifth. Now you see Richard Petty in the 43, still trying to sort this one out here today. He had such a good start at Daytona, and then it went away with a cut tire in the first and second turn early in the going.
You know, one of the spectators today is John Middlebrook, the general manager of the Pontiac division and the General Motors vice president, rooting for Richard Petty. He had all the Pontiac drivers together, a little get-together last night, and Petty seemed quite cheerful. It would be nice to see him doing a little bit better.
Here he is closing up on Means. Means well off the pace, falling a lap down to most of the leaders. Now you're back with Dick Trickle in the top Arctic, car number 66. Closing up on Waltrip again. Taking a shot here. That battle continues.
He's a relentless pursuer, Ken. Dick Trickle never gives up. Tough guy from Wisconsin Rapids.
And at the moment, the Chevrolet of Waltrip has pulled up a spot. It's into the 5th position. Here's Robbie Moroso's car number 20. Well back in the field at this time after that spin. Put him all the way out back. The Crown Fast Fair car. Here's a battle for 10th position. And look at car number 3. Right up in there comes Earnhardt. Just incredible. Here he is working on Phil Parsons in the yellow and red number 4, orange and red if you will, and Neil Bonnet up on the outside in the 21.
As we watch Earnhardt, you have to keep in mind that this is not just a driver, this is a team effort. Earnhardt went out yesterday and simply made a mistake. He had run the Grand National race on biased tires that don't need the warm-up time of the radials. He went out to practice his Winston Cup car on the radials, and he just got into the 3rd turn too hot on that first lap and stuffed it into the wall. The team never, ever hesitates when Earnhardt makes a mistake like that. They jump in. They figure, hey, this guy wins us races. We're going to put a race car underneath him. And the job they've done in taking a super speedway car and converting it into a machine that can come from dead last in this field to contend for 10th this early in the event is a real tribute, not just to the driver, although he certainly is manhandling it beautifully, but to the whole team effort. These guys never worry about a mistake. They never look back. They're always headed for the front.
He has actually pulled himself into the, we have an 11th spot now in front of Phil Parsons as Earnhardt continues to mow them down. Here's the leader once again. Lapping Meacham, car number 7, Alan Kowicki commands the Pontiac Excitement 400 live on TBS. Yeah, could you just come back through those 4 shows, the interview, 7 to 11 to 6 to 5 to 17? Great. And then continue to come back. But you'd come back through those first 4 cars, right? Great, thanks. Position on 3 is 11th, and he's closing real fast. He's going to make some moves here again on Schrader.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I'm clocking the leader and Earnhardt, and Earnhardt is turning the track faster than Kowicki.
We're back with you live at the Pontiac Excitement 400 on a very cold but beautiful day in Richmond, Virginia, where Alan Kowicki maintains the lead in car number 7 with 38 of the 400 laps complete. Just 1 caution thus far. There's your leader, Kowicki, out in front and driving away from the field at the present time. The 2nd spot is this car, number 11. Then, after Bodine, Mark Martin followed by Ricky Rudd, and then Darrell Waltrip is in the 5th position. But the main story right now continues to be car number 3, Dale Earnhardt.
I just clocked the leader, Alan Kowicki, 23.19, 2 laps running, and Earnhardt in traffic is turning 23.13. So he's turning this track faster than the leader.
And he has passed Sterling Marlin. He has just moved around Ken Schrader. That moves the black number 3 into the 9th position. from the rear. Earnhardt is mowing him down. Here he comes, closing in another time, this time on Rusty Wallace. Here's Wallace in the Miller car going into turn number 1, drops down to the inside, and there goes the Chevrolet up. These two longtime friends and hard competitors run wheel to wheel out of turn 2. Earnhardt around Rusty Wallace, and that will move him into 8th, and he is now closing up on Brett Bodine. Here he is on the outside, challenging Bodine, and just in front of him is Dick Trickle.
You know, Ken, watching Earnhardt on the track, I forget that it's 42 degrees in the announce booth.
Here he is on the outside, running that rim all day. Earnhardt just hangs it out there. Brett Bodine in the Kenny Bernstein car. Green number 26 gets knocked down, and that will move Earnhardt up to 7th, and he closes on Trickle in this tremendous run from the rear. That Eddie Lanier engine just does not miss a beat, and that Richard Childress crew gives Earnhardt all he can desire for a race car. It's working beautifully. The black number 3 banner waving here in the infield. He goes a bit high here, and he's losing ground. He drops 1 spot, he drops 2 spots, and Earnhardt dropping back 3 positions, and even more going down to turn 1.
He may be headed for the pits with a problem.
He may be concerned about Kenny Schrader. Schrader's number 25 a couple of laps ago broke loose big time up in the corner. He is very loose, and I think Earnhardt may have seen a bobble in Schrader's car that caused him to run wide off the good surface up into the loose stuff, and that cost him ground. He has now moved back around Schrader. I'm not sure there's anything with Earnhardt's car. I think it might have been a concern about what's wrong with Schrader's car, which has been very loose all along here.
Steve Burns has the reason here. Steve?
Richard Childress was just in heavy conversation with Dale. Richard, what was Dale saying to you?
He just said he got real loose over at 1 lap. We got the car working about where we want. It's a little tight, but he just said he just slipped.
Looks like it's working very well.
Well, he had fallen back to 9th. Now he comes back to 8th as he repasses Rusty Wallace in the very Datsun-prepared car, and here he is ready to work another time on Brett Bodine. I think he just got loose up there and retrieved it.
It's interesting that he took it so easy. He remembers that trunk of yesterday afternoon. In addition to being a swashbuckling man's kind of race driver, he's also a precision scientist at the wheel.
Down to the inside, Brett Bodine, the 26 car, moves under Dick Trickle. This is for 6th position. And with him comes Earnhardt. Back to the leaders. There's the number 7 out in front, putting a lap on car number 2, Ernie Irvan, coming out of turn 2. He just continues to develop a tremendous lead. Let's go to Charlie Harville.
I'm in the pits of the Z-Rex crew with crew chief Paul Andrews. What is he telling you, Paul? What's Alan telling you about the way the car's handling?
Well, right now everything's going fine. Ellen said don't do anything, just leave it like it is. When the caution comes out, we'll probably put on 4 tires. The Z-Rex 4 Thunderbird's working real good today. We're happy to be out there. Hope we can keep it up the rest of the day.
What did you tell him about Dale Earnhardt?
Oh, I didn't say nothing. I think Dale just got up in the loose stuff and just kind of fell back a little bit. He'll be all right. He's coming on strong, though. So we'll just have to see what happens toward the end of the race.
Coming up to 50 laps complete. Here's Kawicki in some heavy traffic. Bobby Hillen on the inside, Neil Bonnet outside.
Doesn't he have the ideal sponsor for today's weather? Xerox Antifreeze.
Alan Kawicki stays up in front. Bodine 2nd. Ricky Rudd in 3rd. Mark Martin is 4th. Darrell Waltrip 5th. 1 caution thus far as Robbie Moroso in the 20 spun in turn 4, and 3 others spun to avoid him. Now you're from the Robbie Moroso car getting a gander at what's going on out here as Moroso moves down to the inside in that Crown Fast Fair car. Gets himself a look down the straightaway here under Neil Bonnet's number 21. This at about 130, 40 miles per hour on this 3/4 mile track. Here he is out of turn 4, down the chute under the flag stand. Moroso, the 21-year-old Grand National champion a year ago in NASCAR. He's in some heavy traffic as Derek Cope comes up along on the outside. Now from the other end car, here's Dick Trickle's number 66, and you can see the chase down he's doing as he follows Ken Schrader. That is the battle that's going on back there in 9th position.
Schrader had a monumental accident practicing at Rockingham on Wednesday of last week, and he took his sock off yesterday to show us his left foot. His swollen and all black. He's the first time in his racing career that he crashed and couldn't figure out why. He says, I don't have a clue, and he says, and that bothers me. He destroyed one of Rick Hendrick's cars. He hit the outside wall at 160 miles an hour, veered to the inside wall, and at 90 miles an hour, hit it head on and came to a dead stop. He's sore, he's aching, but he looks pretty good on the track now, Ken Schrader.
See him take an extra swipe at the wheel as he goes into that fourth turn, faces that wall head on. Now here you see the battle. Here is car number 17, Waltrip, twice winner here, running in fifth spot, and Earnhardt from the back of the pack, closing. Here is Waltrip in the 17, as we mentioned, just in front of car number 3, Earnhardt. 17 going to the bottom. Earnhardt up the outside and simply motors by.
What do you think he's got on those engines? At Daytona, he looked like that. Just remarkable power those black number 3 Goodwrench cars deliver.
The other element that's working in Earnhardt's favor here is the line he's running on the racetrack. He's running a bigger racetrack than the rest of the guys, but if you'll notice how much wider he goes into turn 1, he makes a big arc out of it, and the corner is not nearly as sharp that way. When you come way off the wall like that and kind of square off the turn, yes, you go farther, but you're able to keep your momentum up, and you really see it when he works against another car for position. He just gobbled up Waltrip as he was running into the corner, and that seems to be where Earnhardt's making up so much of his time.
And
Let's go to Charlie Harville.
There seems to be a problem on the Waltrip car. Notice that he's faded back. Here comes Rusty Wallace down to the inside in the 27. He gathers some steam, and it is Wallace that now goes up into 6. Waltrip sliding back on the racetrack and being challenged by Brett Bodine in the 26. Looks like the handle may be off on car number 17. Let's try to get that report from Charlie Harville as we watch Waltrip falling back.
I'm in the pits of the Z-Rex car number 7, Alan Kowicki's car. They had a heater putting heat on the tires. A NASCAR official came by, unplugged the heater from the power source, and one of the Z-Rex crew members just came by and pulled the heater away. You see them now. They're just covering the tires to try to keep them warm in that manner.
See, NASCAR doesn't allow those blankets, and there were several teams that brought those heaters out. I know the Waltrip team did that this morning, and we're hoping they were going to get away with it. Meanwhile, take a look at this. Here's number 3. Earnhardt being challenged by the 27 car, Rusty Wallace. This is for 5th position. On the inside, it is Rusty Wallace in the 27. Earnhardt back as they lap Beecham again.
Notice how much room Earnhardt gave Rusty there as a gentleman, too.
Here's Dale Earnhardt and his buddy, Rusty Wallace, having a great slugfest out here. You know, I thought Earnhardt showed such grace last week in that terrible defeat that he suffered at Daytona. Dale Earnhardt, do you now believe that Daytona owes you one?
I don't know what does, but still, Daytona's got its own way, and you got to go down there and win that race to say you won the 500. So we'll be back there next year trying hard again.
What did you say to Derek Cope after it was over?
I ain't seen him, and I don't want to see him.
Dale Earnhardt, he is a racer's racer, and he's getting a lot of pressure from another racer's racer. Here's Wallace in the 27 working on the man in black. Car number 3 continues to hold on in here from the rear in 5th position as Alan Kowicki stays up in front. Jeff Bodine stays in 2nd. Mark Martin in 3rd. And Ricky Rudd is 4th. Earnhardt is 5th. We'll be back with more live from TBS of the Pontiac Excitement 400 from Richmond after these messages. Fred, I'm sorry. Yeah. Is there a lead to it? Yeah, get car 10 up if you're going to do it. And I'll tell her what position he's in. What position is Cope right now in 10, please? Fred. Gone a lap down. Okay. We need to tell that story to get into this piece. Fred? Yes. Yeah. Fred, I'm sorry I led you on that, but I could see he was going back the 17 car, and that worked out just fine. Thank you. The other thing is, when we come back, start with 7 and then fade back and show me that interval to Bodine and Martin. Yeah, absolutely. No, I want to do that too, but then after that, is what I'm saying. Thank you. Yeah, great. Thanks. And just fade back to the next part. Thank you. You okay, Christopher? Derek Cope, Daytona 500-mile champion. Just 1 week ago. Now a lap down in 29th position. That car number 10, Whitcomb Racing Stable, trying to get sorted out on this very cold day. Temperature just at 32 degrees. But the Buddy Parrott prepared car for Bob Whitcomb Racing just did an outstanding job 1 week ago. During our TBS races in 1990, the U.S. Air Force Reserve honors those who combine teamwork and dedication to stock car racing. Last week, it took that combination to win the 500. Presenting the U.S. Commander's Performance Award, Lieutenant Colonel Ron Hall of the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
Thank you, Ken. I'm here today with Buddy Parrott of the Bob Whitcomb Racing Team. It's a pleasure again for me to be here on behalf of the Air Force Reserve and its Commanding General, Major General Roger P. Scheer, to present this beautiful Golden Falcon to this week's recipient of the Commander's Performance Award. The Commander's Performance Award this week recognizes the Bob Whitcomb Racing Team for their outstanding, stunning victory last week in the 500 at Daytona. I know Bob is extremely proud of this victory and proud of his crew chief, Buddy Parrott, and asked me today to present this award in the name of his team. Congratulations, Buddy, on a great win from the Air Force Reserve.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Bob Whitcomb Racing Team and all the crew members and the Air Force Reserve, I want to accept this award.
Buddy Parrott, great day for him, just like it was for Derek Cope and for Bob Whitcomb. North Carolina, Spanaway, Washington, and the state of New Hampshire all represented in that race car. That's some team. Here's Alan Kowicki out in front in car number 7.
You know, if an awards are going to be distributed, the fans here should get an award. It's freezing cold, and those aluminum seats were out there chilling all night long. Those fans are sitting there. They deserve a pat on the back.
Battle for third place developing here as Bodine stays in the second spot. Here you see car number 5. That is Ricky Rudd trying to work his way in and getting a spot. Fighting with Mark Martin, and Ricky Rudd shows that Chevrolet can come right back up through again. Here he is trying to put a lap on Derek Cope. Ricky Rudd comes back to 3rd. Martin falls to 4th. Earnhardt is in 5th. We have now completed 74 laps. 74 down. Ricky Rudd, who has the added pressure of a $220,000 bonus if he can win this race. It'd be the richest payoff in stock car racing.
It'd be the richest first place payoff in all of stock car racing. Larry Pearson made a pit stop a while ago for right side tires.
Earnhardt is slowing. Earnhardt slowing here in car number 3. Richard Petty up underneath him.
It's interesting. But the pit stops will be coming along in another 10 or 15 laps, I think, getting a test on it. They have the capability of going about 80 to 90 laps, but 75 laps are on the scoreboard now, and those tanks are starting to get low.
And the tires probably flat. So we got a car coming apart on the back straightaway. Harry Gantz, number 33, running in 11th position, up in smoke. Second caution of the day, and came right when they needed to come in for tires.
Boy, the pit lane is going to be a busy place next time around.
Closed off for the moment, field congregating. Pace car coming out, second caution of the day, as Harry Gant has misfortune, and the Jackson brothers see this car rolling back behind and into the garage area. Done for the day here at Richmond. Harry Gant. So pits, that'll be the story. Tires, it'll be under caution, and we'll sort them out for you when we return to Richmond International Raceway.
Ha! 11. Beat Kowicki out of the pit.
They all pitted. Could I have a little more coffee, please?
No,
Thank you. You want some coffee, Chris?
Rick Wilson's car's all beat up on the right side. I don't know how it got that way.
Well, he spun down here earlier. He was one of the ones that spun in that first altercation. 20 is in.
Look at Earnhardt swerving back and forth, get his tires warmed up.
We're back live in Richmond, Virginia, where the field has been brought under caution and everybody is replenishing on pit road. Gives us an opportunity to quickly tell you who the hard charger has been thus far in Winston Cup racing 1990. Of course, at Daytona, Dale Earnhardt dominated. He scored 2,158 points in the True Value Hard Charger competition. True Value puts up $50,000 in year-end awards, and it goes to the drivers who run in the top 5 positions at each race. You get 5 points for leading a lap, 4 for second, 3 for third, 2 for fourth, and 1 for fifth. Every lap counts. They accumulate points in each event, and the hard charger from each race gets 1,500 points. So these are the season standings thus far. Earnhardt is again piling up points based on the strong run he's had here today. We'll update you on those points throughout and let you know who's going to get that 1,500 bucks. Let's also update our Timex quick lap thus far, and it was a good one. Early in the running, Ricky Rudd uncorked 119.617 mile per hour lap. Now that is very close. Double check that. That is where he qualified, actually. He's run a 119.22, a 22.68 second lap on our Timex speed track. So for the moment, his crew has a shot at a Timex speed track for each member of that team based on Ricky's good lap. Of course, the pole sitter, if he can win this race, picks up another $220,000 in the Unical competition. So that's what he's really shooting for here today. A lot of activity on pit road. Let's go back topside to Ken Squire.
Well, Harry Gant, who's had misfortune after misfortune here, has had it happen again. He's had a 5th place finish. Once again, he's back in the garage area. We'll try and get a word with him. After those pit stops, first car out, the Junior Johnson crew, Tim Brewer and company doing an outstanding job getting their man back on the track. And look from Dick Trickle's viewpoint as they try to warm up those tires, Chris.
Isn't that a great that zigzag back and forth? The winner of yesterday's Sportsman race, Michael Waltrip, is behind the wall with his number 30 Country Time car getting looked at from the underside. Problems for the younger of the Waltrip Racing brothers.
Yeah, we'll have more on that story of yesterday's race later in today's telecast. Michael Waltrip just put on an outstanding show. We had better than, 2.5 hour delay before they finally were able to get the last laps in. And he and Dale Earnhardt really had at it. Anyway, you're riding in the Phillips 66 Trop Arctic motor oil car. Dick Trickle looking very good as they double him up and get ready for a go.
There's a little bit of a fight among the back markers here as to who's going to have the number 1 position on the inside row here. NASCAR regulations make the leaders of the race on the outside row and then the back markers on the inside row.
Christopher, you got to move your coffee. We're steaming up the window here. Here's Robbie Moroso in the Crown Fast Fair car, number 20, further back. And here you see Kyle Petty, slower cars, or lap cars, I should say, more properly, on the inside. The outside, there you see it. Jeff Bodine first, Alan Kowicki second. There are the spotters up on the roof watching their cars around this tricky 3/4 mile track. Ricky Rudd in third, Rusty Wallace fourth, Dale Earnhardt fifth, Brett Bodine in sixth, Mark Martin in seventh, Darrell Waltrip eighth, Terry Labonte in ninth, Trickle is 10th, Schrader 11th, Bill Elliott 12th as they go back under green.
It looks like Rusty Wallace in car 27 had some adjustments done on his car. He's looking pretty good out there with Kowicki trying to get by Kyle Petty to take a shot at Jeff Bodine.
83 laps complete. 83 when they took green. They're coming around to complete 84 this time. There you see the leader, car number 11. Jeff Bodine up in front, and Charlie Harville's with Junior Johnson.
Junior, you have moved in front. How are things going? Is Jeff telling you about it?
Well, Charlie, right now we're pretty satisfied with our car. It's handling pretty good. It's pushing just a little in the middle, but I think as the race gets a little deeper into it, it gets slicker.
Oh, we got a crash in turn 4. Davey Allison looping it, coming out of 4.
Richard Petty went in first, Ken, and hit the wall going backwards there. It was a wild spin, and now there's 2 cars parked up there.
Here's the 43 up against the wall. Davey Allison with him. Davey gets down to the inside field, coming by with car number 11 leading. Kyle Petty was trying to get a lap back as they thread the needle up here in turn number 4. Petty's car socked right against the wall on this restart, which is a thing that we talked about earlier, concern about these restarts on fresh tires.
Right, that are not warmed up yet.
And 2 cars skate up into the 4th turn wall.
Allison's spin was to avoid hitting Richard Petty. He didn't lose control. He spun it to keep from running into him.
Here's Davey Allison away. In the car number 28, Richard Petty's car is flanked into the wall, and we can get some of it up here in turn number 4 to look at. There's Petty's car snarled in the wall, and Davey Allison, Chris points out, spinning to miss it.
Well, now the tires are still not going to be warmed up traveling at low speeds like this. We're going to have to watch out when the green flag comes out the next time round.
So we're under caution with 87 laps complete. Safety crew coming out for Richard Petty and company in turn number 4. We'll be back with more on this story in just a moment.
Talk a little bit about track.
I think Richard is still in the car. Richard okay?
You know, if Kyle Petty had been able to get by Bodine, he'd have his lap back. There he is.
Okay. .89 laps have been completed. The good news is that Richard Petty is all right. He has walked away from this scrape in turn number 4. It took quite a while for him to clamber out of the car, but he is all right. Davey Allison is on pit road. There you see Richard Petty out of the number 43, which has crashed in the turn 4 area of the Richmond International Raceway. Let's go to Dave Despay.
Again, we're in the Goodyear Racing Update Center. There is motorsports activity elsewhere around America today, specifically the Camel GT sports cars moving through the streets of Miami today. They'll get underway with the second race of their season, and we want to take a look now at how they qualified yesterday. It was a good news, bad news day for the Nissan team. The Nissans, specifically here, the former series champ Chip Robinson having problems in time trial, so the pressure fell to his teammate. And the reigning champ, Jeff Brabham, rose to the occasion, broke the track record, took the pole at 109.3 miles an hour in qualifying. Jaguar, again the rival today, Price Cobb and John Nielsen outside the front row in this Castrol Cat. Now, Drake Olson's Toyota is going to start third, 6 different makes in the top 7, and local hero Alberto Neon, scheduled to drive with the IndyCar champion Emerson Fittipaldi, will instead team with the series Rookie of the Year Bernard Jourdain, and that was a change that came about as a result of a sponsorship conflict. They'll be getting underway in Miami shortly, and we'll be back to green in just a couple of minutes. That's it for this Goodyear Racing Update.
Thank you, David. Just about set to go with 91 laps now complete.
Kyle Petty there, all that skirmishing to get up front on the restart. If he was able to pass Jeff Bodine, he would now have his lap back. It's why these drivers try so hard to get in front before a yellow flag comes out, because he's gone all the way around the track and tacked on the back of the line.
The Petty car is still lodged against the wall in turn 4, and they're bringing out additional equipment with which to move it. Richard Petty, who had such great luck here in the 70s and late 60s and early 60s for that matter, a 6-time winner of this event, 13 times in all. He has scored Winston Cup victories at Richmond, won it in 71 and 72 and 73. The last time he won here was 1975 in the Pontiac Excitement 400. Turned around for him.
I was here 25 years ago during a television show when the track was the dirt half-miler. Junior Johnson, I remember
1965.
65.
I was
right.
just a kid. I sat home and watched you.
Anyway, I remember that day because Junior Johnson was a lot slimmer than he is today, had a crew cut, and he won the race in a dusty day, and he took his goggles off for my winner's interview, and he reminded me of a raccoon. Everything was black except where the goggles were in his eyes.
From an in-car camera, Chris, let's take a look at this incident with Richard Petty down here. Here we are in Dick Trickle's car.
There he goes.
Richard breaking loose, spinning, and he collects you could see him collect driver's side of the wall, and when there was this hesitation about getting him out, there was real concern.
That's the problem with the radial tires as opposed to the bias ply tires. With the bias ply tires, you can turn the wheel to the right and stand on the gas and sort of dirt track your way out of it. But with the radials, the sidewalls are so stiff, there's no flex there. Once the car starts to go, it keeps going around. And the drivers have to learn to drive differently. Richard Childress told me this morning the radial tires require 50% more braking than the bias ply tires do on this very same track. Twice as much braking.
Well, here they are, still trying to remove Petty's car number 43. It is severely damaged in this wreck that has taken the king out of the competition at Richmond today, a track which favored him so greatly in the earlier days, and last year turned a cold shoulder on him, and a colder shoulder today. And speaking of cold, it's 32 degrees if you're just joining us here at Richmond. A sparkling, beautiful day, but it is frigid.
A glorious 42 degrees in the announce booth.
See, this is warm for folks from up north. It's people with thin blood. Here's Dick Trickle, who's used to racing where it's cold up there in Wisconsin. He understands this kind of weather. He can't wait to get back at it in car number 66. You know, until Dale Earnhardt blew that tire on the last corner or in the back straightaway going into the last corner of the Daytona 500, few outside the stock car world, except those that really are into it and up there in the Northwest, had heard of Derek Cope. But Monday morning, he headlined sports pages in every corner of the United States. We conclude a look now at the Daytona 500 winner with a review of where he came from and his life and how it's changed since he rolled into victory lane. When the Daytona 500 checkered flag fell last week, Derek Cope fulfilled 2 of his 3 biggest dreams: to win his first Winston Cup event and to win the Super Bowl of stock car racing. Cope's first dream was to play in the World Series. He spent his childhood in Spanaway, Washington, pursuing that dream of Major League Baseball as a catcher. He excelled through college, then a knee injury forced him to quit. In 1984, he turned his talents toward racing. He won the NASCAR Winston West rookie title and came within 4 points of winning the overall championship. After 5 years on and off the Winston Cup circuit, he secured a full-time ride last April. Cope, Purelator, and Bob Whitcomb here joined forces in looking for a few good finishes. They placed 6th twice, a career best until last week. Since then, Whitcomb Racing's gained a lot of credibility. Derek Cope has earned top billing on the limo tour, appearing on everything from Motor Week Illustrated to David Letterman.
Thank you very much.
On his way to Richmond, the Charlotte Motor Speedway gave Cope a plaque commemorating his upset victory, decorated with the most influential piece of debris in Daytona 500 history, the transmission part that cut Earnhardt's tire.
We ran over the same piece of metal that Dale Earnhardt did. Our right rear tire had 3 very, very deep gashes in it. One was down through all the cords, and one more lap, and we could have probably been in the same position as Dale.
Cope's luck held out last Sunday, and now the Winston Cup fraternity's aiming straight at the kid from Spanaway, Washington. He's ready for the challenge. After all, when it comes to athletics built for pure toughness, there are middleweight boxers and linebackers and the guys at the contact point in baseball. The stocky guys digging into the dirt, the catchers, especially those turned race car drivers. Car number 10, Derek Cope. Let's go quickly to the guy who's responsible for so much of the strength of Dale Earnhardt these days, Charlie Harville.
This is Cecil Gordon, the man who supervises the building of the cars for Dale Earnhardt. What kind of car is this you're using today after the wreck?
Well, Charlie, this car is a car that we've been hauling for a spare car. It's really a test car. We built it just to test with. And yesterday afternoon, we wiped out our primary car, which was a rear steer car, and the test car we've had on the truck was a front steer. So we had to totally set up different for the race and change our strategy a whole lot as far as how the car worked and what we thought it would take to make it work, but it looks like it's working real well.
Let's go to Steve Burns at the other end of pit road.
I'm with Robert Yates, the car owner for Davey Allison. Robert, you had the hood up on the car. What were you working on?
What green flag?
We are back underway. And here's car number 42 trying to get his lap back. 42, Kyle Bennett getting a lap back from Max Redway. As Jeff Bodine stays first, Alan Kowicki stays in second, Ricky Rudd is third, Rusty Wallace is in fourth on the shakeout. 99 laps complete as they went back to green. Actually 98, 99 as they come across the stripe this time.
Well, that's interesting to see a back marker get his lap back like this, and he's pulling away from Jeff Bodine.
Just in front of the 11 is the car number 42 that is making up his lap. There you see him. And then number 11 is your leader. This is the Ford of Bodine. Alan Kowicki next, and the Chevrolet of Ricky Rudd lies third. Rusty Wallace in the Pontiac is fourth. Dale Earnhardt Chevy is in fifth. Brett Bodine stays sixth.
And Dale Earnhardt is moving to the top of the track, drawing a bead on Rusty Wallace.
Get those tires back. Let's see what he can do with them as we take a look at the standings further back through the field. 1/4 of the distance covered here on WTVS. As you watch, Rusty Wallace, defending Winston Cup champion, battle with Dale Earnhardt back in the pack. Minus for fifth. They're trying to put a lap back on Kyle Petty. And down to the inside goes car number 5. There's Ricky Rudd making his move. That Chevy goes up underneath the Ford. Ricky Rudd and Alan Kowicki at it for second spot. Back straightaway, about even. And they draw up side by side right behind them. Wallace on the inside. Look at this struggle. 4 cars battling in there for second position. Bodine drives away.
That's some racing.
Alan Kowicki on the high side. Rusty Wallace down low. Now these guys, with the exception of Rudd, they used to do this on a pretty regular basis out there in the Midwest. Earnhardt used to go out there and run with Wallace and go up to Cayuga up in Canada and run like this in the ASA days.
Now let's watch and see, Ken, whether they touch each other or not. This is really interesting racing.
Car number 5, Rudd, has pulled up into second. Now it's for third. There goes Wallace down on the inside. That Pontiac dives right in there. Rusty Wallace and Alan Kowicki wheel to wheel for turn 3.
What Kowicki needs to do now is get back on the inside. That's his groove, not out there. That's Earnhardt's groove, but Earnhardt's down low now, making it 3 wide on the straight.
Here they come down for turn number 1, and the move is on. It's car number 3 down to the inside. Earnhardt pulling up through. Now he's going to shoot the gap. Dale Earnhardt in car number 3 is moving up 2 spots on that lap. Incredible. Dale Earnhardt getting around Kowicki, getting around Wallace, and gets himself to 3rd spot.
Well, he did it before.
Here comes Wallace back on the inside. Rusty Wallace pours it on out of 2. Number 27 on the bottom of the screen. Hunt's number 3, Earnhardt high. Here they are back in 3 and 4. And it's Wallace coming back up through in the Pontiac.
And Alan Kowicki, who was out front for so long, is way back in 5th place now.
I think he's watching this one. He wants a good view. He's got one of the best seats in the house as a couple of masters go at it. There's 3/4 mile banked asphalt. It's live on TBS as you watch Rusty Wallace, Winston Cup champion, closing in again now on Ricky Rudd and the leader, number 11, Bodine.
Rudd wants that bonus. He's aiming for the lead inside of Bodine. Now outside. And look, here comes Wallace inside of Rusty, inside of Rudd.
Rusty Wallace aims her down for turn 3. He goes up underneath the Chevrolet. Rusty Wallace, defending Winston Cup champion, now takes a shot at... No, he falls back again as he comes down the main straightaway as Ricky Rudd keeps the pressure on. This is for 1st place. Number 11, Bodine is your leader. Rusty Wallace is in 2nd. Here comes Ricky Rudd. Here comes Earnhardt. 4 cars in a scrap for the lead. Lap 110, this time by. Here they are into the main straightaway.
A Ford, a Pontiac, and 2 Chevrolets. And now the Chevy goes to 2nd, or does it? The Pontiac, and Earnhardt moves his line from the outside to the inside to tuck underneath Rudd.
And Wallace closes up on car number 11.
This is what the fans pay those high ticket prices to see.
Earnhardt down to the inside. He comes up through. Here comes Kowicki back into it. Rusty Wallace, who's your main competition at Richmond.
I have a lot of consideration for the other cars, but right now my main consideration and main thought is towards Dale Earnhardt. I want to beat him. I figure he's my main competition. He was here at the last race and the race before. I figure he's going to be the one I have to race right down to the wire for the championship. I'm ready for it, and I'm playing for it, and I got that in my mind.
A little bobble there on Wallace's part.
Here's Wallace trying to get underneath Jeff Bodine. Remember, Wallace has won 2 in a row. He has won 2 straight here at this track. There's Earnhardt right behind him. Lap car, Kyle Petty, has unlapped himself. He is now on the tail end of the lead lap.
I didn't see Junior Johnson put Bodine where he is, and Jeff is staying there. For how long, we wonder.
Wallace moves to the inside. Here comes Kowicki back into it. An interesting mix down the back straightaway. You have a Ford out in front. Pontiac is in the 2nd. Chevrolet is in 3rd. Ford is in 4th. And Ricky Rudd now 5 cars for the lead. Just behind that red car is Derek Cope. He is a lap down. There you see him just coming into the picture briefly, but here's the focus. It's up on the point. Jeff Bodine stays first. Wallace continues to apply the pressure. It is a slippery track, a cold track. Temperature at 32 degrees, sunlit day. It snowed and rained here yesterday in the midst of the Grand National race. Alan Kowicki's number 7, bottom. To the outside goes Earnhardt in number 3. He's trying another line. He tried the bottom. Now he's going high.
That chassis seems to work everywhere.
As they come around in their fight for 3rd spot. Number 7, Kowicki on the inside. On the outside, number 3. Earnhardt's crew looking on as they go into turn number 1. Car number 11 stays first. On the outside comes car number 3. Earnhardt is around. He is in 3rd, and he is closing again on number 27, Wallace, for 2nd place. Here he comes. The old rim rider is back up there.
This is great racing, and the fact that they're not touching somebody really impresses me with the confidence they have in the driver alongside.
Car number 11, Bodine, can stand the pressure. He just stays in there and stands on it. But now the inside opens up a little. Wallace flicks that wheel down to the inside, just scrapes by near that wall. Amazing running. And here comes Earnhardt for 2nd place. Dale Earnhardt puts the pressure on. Goes up on the high side. And looking like a Carolina Ridge runner, just sticks it out there and floats it around 1 and 2 into second spot. Incredible racing. It's live today on TBS. We're at Richmond, Virginia. We're watching Dale Earnhardt from the rear, now closing on the leader, Bodine. And remember, these two have had at it. Here comes Kowicki back into it. Number 7, Kowicki on the outside. 4 cars battling, 5 cars battling for the lead.
And Earnhardt's the leader.
Earnhardt moving around Kyle Petty on the tail end of the lead lap and driving away Earnhardt. High side. Here comes Bodine moving out. He wants to try to get around Kyle Petty.
He did that from the last row. 120 laps have unfolded, and Dale Earnhardt has come from last to first.
Backside. Bodine up and around Kyle Petty. Remember, Kyle Petty is fighting to stay in 19th spot on the lead lap, and he's lost that position in the lead lap to Earnhardt. Here comes Bodine trying to put him a lap down. On that restart, Kyle was able to move out in front of number 11, but now the Savannah's car is moving backwards, and we see car number 11 putting him a lap down. Car number 7, Kowicki, running in third. Here comes Ricky Rudd, and they have Wallace pinned on the bottom. Also coming up through is Derek Cope. He had some handling problems, seems to have it fixed. Wallace, determined, stays down low. He moves through. Incredible sense of racing here in the last 20 laps at Richmond as Dale Earnhardt again draws out in front, similar to what he did at Daytona just a week ago. The issue is, will he be there for the checkers?
Yes, Father Einstein. Pass the collection plate.
When we come back,
we're not in bad shape.
Fred, the wind has changed. Those flags in the pit road and blowing in a different direction now. This may change the handling of the cars. It makes it better for some people and worse for others.
And we need to see 26 and 25. 26, 25, and 17. 26, 25, and 17. Thanks. Okay. And 9. You just can come back there and show us those cars just out of the top 5. 26, 25, 17, and 9.
No, here. Yeah, I've got a Chiron to go in the key, Fred. Yes. And where do I go with it? I'm sorry. Where do I go with it? Okay. You're coming to me first.
Promotional fees and consideration have been paid by the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, makers of the Goodyear Eagle High Performance Street Radials, the best-selling performance tires in the world. And by First Brands Corporation, makers of STP racing products. And by the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
Our pilots fly the world's most advanced aircraft. We keep the planes in top flight condition.
We're live at the STP Pit Communication Center, Richmond International Raceway. Where do you want to put your money when it comes to picking a brand? Chevrolet won 13 races last year to Ford's 8 and Pontiac 6. Rusty Wallace has won the last 12 races for Pontiac. Right now, he's in the midst of a big struggle here in Richmond. Let's pick up the action and a great fight up front. Ken Squire has the call.
Alan Kowicki just blazing down the inside at turn 1, has moved back in front, and guess who came with him? Wallace streaks up through. He goes to second. Earnhardt, in his 12th performance here at Richmond, falls to third. This in lap 130. They're now working 131. In the backside, it's car number 7, Kowicki's Ford, leading. Then you see Rusty Wallace in the Pontiac in second. And it is the Chevrolet of Dale Earnhardt in third. He went high, and Kowicki drove up underneath him, Chris Economaki.
I wonder if the change in the wind direction has had any effect on how these cars perform.
It did change. Here comes Wallace going to the inside to fight for first place. Rusty Wallace down low. Here's Kowicki up on top.
The wind was definitely a factor yesterday in the Busch Grand National race. Tommy Houston had an unusual problem. His contact lenses popped out of his eyes because of a big gust of wind. Dale Earnhardt, on the other hand, is having problems in that this is a front steer car. His other car yesterday was a rear steer car, and he says, quote, the car feels a little funny.
Well, it's backed up, which ain't funny for him. He's dropped 2 spots here, back to third spot for car number 3, Dale Earnhardt. And this is the battle for the lead. The Ford of Alan Kowicki stays up on top. Right with him comes Rusty Wallace.
Okay, the wind. There, you can see the flags. The wind now is blowing across the infield from the back.
Oh, we got a crash.
Whoa!
In turn number 4.
Look at
car number 90 has spun. That is the Don Levy car. Rick Wilson for the second time has spun, and also getting collected was car number 1. That's the Terry Labonte car.
Ernie Irvan and number 90 there, and Rick Wilson's second ding of the day. It's a tough break here. Coming off of turn 4 seems to be a tough spot today, Ken. Driver said before the race that turn 2 is the Achilles heel of this racetrack, but exiting turn 4 has been the trouble spot today. Here's Rick Wilson's car.
Terry Labonte running in 14th position when this incident took place. Here's Rick Wilson back underway. His car looking battle-scarred, and let's look at what happened.
Oh,
just
Labonte lost it.
Labonte had to just go out from beneath him there. Goes all the way around and then collects the 90 car.
I wonder if he had help from behind. Maybe we might be able to see it again.
I don't believe. Let's look again if you care to. Looked to me like he was clear. Spins twice, and it was the second time around when he was in contact with the Ernie Irvan car.
Lots of tire smoke there.
Everyone's on pit road.
Let's see who gets out first this time. Last time, Junior Johnson put Jeff Bodine right here in the lead with a quick pit stop, and it looks like they're doing the same thing again. Are they? No, Ricky Rudd beat him out this time.
Here's the car number 1 that was in trouble. Let's go to Steve Byrne.
Terry Labonte just taking off from the pits. The right rear has been damaged pretty badly. They're going to come back and try and tear some sheet metal away. It looks like it's rubbing on the right rear tire.
I think he's getting out here to make up a lap, and they'll bring him back in to work on the Jackson car. Jackson brothers not having a good day. They lost Harry Gant early, and they had high hopes for this Oldsmobile with car number 1. Here he is in the back straightaway trying to get that one sorted out. Let's see if he pits again. He's staying out on the track for the moment in car number 1, Terry Labonte.
Well, you know, Ken, we talk about stock car racing being a team sport and the pit crews being very important. Well, the pit crews have put Rusty Wallace in the lead right now.
Safety crews working in the turn 4 area of Richmond International Raceway. We'll be back with more of the action. 137 complete in a moment. Give me the fine. Yeah, okay. I don't want to do
We're back live at Richmond International Raceway. There's been growing concern over the last couple of years, particularly at the Winston Cup short tracks, about the effects of carbon monoxide on the drivers, the buildup of carbon monoxide inside the cars. Here's the latest innovation in that area, and it comes, interestingly enough, from a company called Atomic Energy Incorporated or Limited of Canada. A couple of engineers up there were watching the Daytona 500 on television, heard about Richard Petty's problem, put together some hardware to help deal with that issue. This is just a blower that pulls air out of the inside of the car, feeds it into the heart of the system, which is this catalytic filter. And what this does is removes carbon monoxide from the air being breathed by the driver. A hose goes on here and goes up and feeds into a special mask built into the driver's helmet. The effect of all that is good, clean air for the drivers and a good run toward the front of the field. We're seeing some great racing. Let's get back to it with Ken Squire.
We have Rusty Wallace up in front, Ricky Rudd in second as we go to green. Bodine is in third, Earnhardt fourth, Alan Kowicki fifth, Mark Martin in sixth, Bill Elliott seventh, Ken Schrader in eighth, Darrell Waltrip ninth, Dick Trickle in 10th, Brett Bodine 11th, and Sterling Marlin 12th. Morgan Shepherd 13th. We have 17, 18 cars on the lead lap as we go back to green. 141 laps complete, and as they get going, car number 27, Wallace in front. In second is Jeff Bodine's car number 11, and Ricky Rudd's number 5, the yellow and white car, is in third spot. Let's take one more quick look at what happened up here in turn number 4 from the in-car camera view.
There it is through the windshield. You can see that's Rick Wilson right in front of there. The visibility is rather poor right here.
And
I'd like to be able to say, look at that, but it's hard to do.
Gets worse.
Here.
Got a spin down here. Car number 90 goes all the way around. There's no caution out. Chad Little back underway for a second time after a spin.
Number 90 continues to find that Journey Irvin.
That's correct.
Second time
that is
around.
Rick Mast is in the number 2.
Right.
Here are the leaders. Wallace in front, Jeff Bodine in second, and Ricky Rudd in third. That's one thing we should make clear, that number 2 car today is Rick Mast. We're used to seeing Ernie in that machine. That's not the way it is today. Here's car number 27. Out in front.
You can see now, Rusty Wallace, who could not pass for the lead, is able to hold it after his pit stop. And Ricky Rudd in the number 5 car moving up on the outside, trying to take Jeff Bodine, his former, that's Bodine's last year's car that Rudd is driving, car that won the pole here last year.
Wallace going for 3 straight, and right behind him, here's Ricky Rudd working inside and outside on Bodine. Ricky Rudd in the yellow and white car, number 5, closes in on number 11, Bodine. The battle is for second position. Let's get this report from Steve Byrne.
I asked Steve Byrne, Robbie Moreau says, crew chief, if Robbie made a comment about that accident. He said, oh yeah. He said he was real close.
As long as you're real close, but that's all. That counts.
They got the windshield clean on the car now. He can at least see the radiator cap.
Smoke gets in your eyes. Here's car number 11, Bodine in that second spot. Here's Ricky Rudd right with him. Ricky Rudd, who won this race in 1984.
Well, they got the beer wagons first and second.
This is a cool day for that thought, Chris. Look at Rudd just touching the number 11 there for a moment. And Earnhardt is right there in fourth. Alan Kowicki fifth. Martin in sixth. Rudd to the outside again as they come into the main straightaway. 149 complete this time.
Alan Kowicki seems to be falling a little bit behind. The leading quartet is pulling away from him.
There's the battle for fifth. Alan Kowicki is in fifth. Mark Martin is in sixth. Remember, as we pointed out earlier, yesterday, the talk was all about Mark Martin and how he seemed to be the quickest car out here. Ricky Rudd continues in that third place in car number 5 as we watch this fifth place battle.
He's in position to go for that 220,000. A long ways to go yet.
That's Rudd that's in the third position currently. This is fifth and sixth. Kowicki, Martin. Just behind them lies Bill Elliott in the next position back. You're seeing a lap car in between them, Kyle Petty. Bill Elliott is in seventh, and then it's almost a half second to Ken Schrader in eighth. You're riding with car number 66, Dick Trickle, who is in 10th. Behind Schrader in 8th is Waltrip 9th. Then comes this car from whence we're getting these pictures. Dick Trickle out of Wisconsin Rapids trying to put a lap on the car number 19. And here we are back with car number 5, Ricky Rudd. Closes in on Jeff Bodine another time. Ford leading the Chevy.
And directly behind Dale Earnhardt is now Kawicki starting to move in on that leading Pontiac.
Battle up in front has been incredible here today. If you're just joining us, it's 32 degrees this afternoon in Richmond, Virginia. A little cool. As Barry Dotson said, it's football weather out here today. Les Richter, who is supervising the race for NASCAR, said, "You ever played football? Remember he played for the LA Rams in this kind of weather?" He said, "Sure." And he said, of course, in those days, he said, the way we kept warm is we played both ways, just like these guys do. They didn't send in one unit and then the other back in the early 60s when Green Bay was first building their dynasty. He said he went up there one time and it was just about 30, 32 degrees the whole game. He said you never even felt it, as long as you can keep busy. Like these people right here. The front four, Wallace, Bodine, Ricky Rudd, and Dale Earnhardt, maintaining those top spots. Charlie Harville has a report from the leaders' pits.
Barry Dodson, crew chief for Rusty Wallace. Barry, did you make any changes in the car during that last pit stop?
No, we didn't. The only change we made, we all went and sat on the tire we took off to try to stay warm. He said the car's very good. We just had a couple good pit stops, and that's what's got us up front.
How was the wear on those tires?
The wear's very good. The right sides are maybe a 30-second, left side about a half 30-second. Radio's doing a great job.
Comments of Barry Dotson about those radial tires. He's high on them. So is Earnhardt. Trick part is just getting used to them, I guess. Leader continues to be Rusty Wallace. Bodine is right there. And there is no let-up in the pressure on the front man this afternoon with 157 laps now complete. When we come back, we need 17, 25, 66, and that crowd, 15.
Looks like Elliott has... Yeah, Elliott's got a hole.
Fred, are you with me? 17, 25, 66, and 15 when we come back, if it's not for the lead. (17, 25, 66, and 15 when we come back, if it is not for the lead. Yep. Right now, 17, 25, 66, and 15. Besides this fight for the lead, that's the real fight.
TBS Sports is live in Richmond. We're tracking the action with our Timex Speed Track computer. And Ricky Rudd had turned the quickest lap of the race at 119.22 miles per hour. To compare that with how they're running now, Rusty Wallace, just a couple of laps before we went to the commercial, clicked in with a lap not quite as fast. He was running at 118 miles an hour, 118.21 actually, 22.86 on the watch. The watch automatically calculates the speed, and that's typical to see that kind of drop off at this point. The significance of the radial tires is that there is less drop off in speed from the time the tires are fresh until they're worn. Let's get back to the action, see if Wallace can hang on. Ken?
Hanging on indeed, and look at this scramble. This is the Waltrip car on the outside. Brett Bodine is working on him, and already he has been caught up by Morgan Shepherd, who has passed him, and Schrader has moved around. Waltrip is falling back a bit. Brett Bodine taking a shot at him here. Brett Bodine down on the inside in the car number 26, working on Waltrip in the 17. Looks like he has it. This happening at lap 166 of the 400 to be run. Darrell Waltrip on the outside, and there's Sterling Marlin in this hunt as well. Car owner Billy Hagan here today, looking pretty chipper. Been on the mend for some time. Here comes the green car of Brett Bodine, bottom of the track, motoring its way up through. The Buick goes underneath the Chevrolet. Meanwhile, car number 6, Mark Martin's car. We have a report on this machine. Let's go to Steve Burns.
Mark Martin has developed a small leak in his oil line, and it is spilling oil up on his windshield. They're going to take a close look at it.
Now, one of the things that Jack Roush did today was he closed up the hole up there by the windshield, trying to get less air in on this very cold day. Says that they're really worried about the detonation on these engines when caution is out. We have a piece of debris. I thought we saw something there for a moment, and indeed, that is the
Al
case.
Kulwicki has just suddenly found something. He passed Ricky Rudd and Dale Earnhardt to improve his position in the last couple of laps, and now the yellow flag has come out to slow him down.
This at lap 168. Here's your leader, Rusty Wallace. The Miller Pontiac stays up in front. As Chris says, the 2 beer wagons continue to lead the parade here today. Second spot is Jeff Bodine. And as this man from outer space clinches his cigar a little tighter on this chilly day, we'll pause for these messages from Richmond.
Tire change for everybody. Pro.
I'll tell you what, they're all going forward. You want pretty wide cameras from here on because Rick Maston.
So we have a new leader.
Killing the lap down, yes,
yeah,
he is.
Killing the lap down.
Yeah. Maybe 2 laps, or more than that.
One more lap.
Back with you at 170 laps as they prepare on a restart. Double filing going down into turns 1 and 2. And as we get ready to go this time, let's go quickly down to the SDP Pit Center in Dave Despain.
Quick Goodyear Racing update on action here yesterday, where the Busch Grand National Division kicked off the Richmond weekend with a twice interrupted 200 lapper. It got underway with Kyle Petty running out front. He had started strong, but had to change an engine early in the morning. And don't be confused when you see Mark Martin here in a moment come rolling into victory lane. There is Petty, and here is Martin. And he has knocked down the protective barrels at the end of the pit road. Mark was fine, but the barrels were not, and the race had to be red flagged. They stopped it while the safety cars put the buffer back together again. At the halfway point, rain threatening the speedway. Dale Earnhardt in the black 3 made a charge to the front, and it paid off in a traffic jam. Petty tried to lap Dana Patton on the inside, ran out of room, and watched helplessly as Earnhardt went by on the outside. Well, that storm indeed did blow in, and it brought the second red flag of the day. But just a couple of hours later, the sun and the track drying crew had done their work. The action resumed, and it was a remarkable charge from Michael Waltrip. He ran Earnhardt down from behind. He passed him with authority and ran away to his third Grand National victory. Bobby Labonte had a run at Earnhardt, but came up just a little short, and he settled for third spot behind Earnhardt in that 200 lapper. We've just gone back to green. That's your Goodyear Racing update. Let's get back to live action.
And as we get back under green, out in front from the restart, Rusty Wallace with Ricky Rudd in second as Dick Trickle back in 10th place giving us these pictures. We're live again with you.
Rudd grabs the lead. But
oh, we got a spin. It is Derek Cope looping up in turn 4 to the wall. Field underneath him. Same situation, 2 or 3 laps after they make these 4 tire changes, and these cars get skittish.
You know, the pit work on the part of Jeff Hammond in his hot shoes on number 17 has injected Darrell Waltrip up into 3rd place in the running order now.
And the running order, as they come around, they come back to the flag. They're booted in here, holding their positions. Ricky Rudd's car number 5 stays up in front. Rusty Wallace in second. Dale Earnhardt third. Alan Kowicki fourth. Taking a look at Derek Cope. He might have got a little bit of help there as he spins. Loops it. Did not do any severe damage. Was able to fire it up and come back around. In the 5th spot was Waltrip as they were coming down. In 6, Ken Schrader. 7th, Jeff Bodine. 8th, Bill Elliott. 9th, Shepard. 10th, Mark Martin. 11th now, Trickle. 12th, Bodine. A lap, and they're going to turn them loose, and Jeff Bodine is pitting. Car number 11 on pit road.
That's a tough break for Jeff Bodine. It must be an important adjustment they have to make. Right rear tire is being checked. It's going to be hard for him to get through all that traffic back up to the front. So many cars in front of him now.
Field doubles up on the restart. Rudd for first, Wallace for second, Earnhardt third, Kowicki fourth, Waltrip fifth on this restart. Kyle Petty down on the inside trying to take a lap back.
He's been doing that all day.
Similar situation to what we saw earlier, Chris.
Well, Ricky Rudd now out in front. That's $220,000 extra if he can stay there. That's some payout.
178 laps complete as they come down. Rudd out in front. Can he stay there? Get that bonus. Nearing the halfway mark. He jumps in front of Kyle Petty and puts him a lap down as they go to turn 1. Wallace trying to make it 3 straight, reliving those Petty days back in the 70s. He dominated here at Richmond. Lies in second spot. Earnhardt is third and looking strong again. Alan Kowicki on the outside there goes fourth, moving around the lap car of Bobby Hillen. 7 lead changes among 6 drivers as we get toward the halfway point. And you're riding in car number 66. Tucked right in there with Mark Martin. That's 9th place, directly in front of Dick Trickle, who is running 10th again. He's moved back up a spot. And as they sort them out, here's the 7 car getting back around. Wallace fading back. Wallace dropping back in that gang fight that we have up in front. Ricky Rudd stays in first. And we've got another big battle developing further back. Here is Bill Elliott in the 9 car shooting up around Waltrip. This is for position. Meanwhile, up in front, Kyle Petty has taken his lap back from car number 5, Ricky Rudd. Closing in is Earnhardt in second spot.
Twice Petty has done that so far today.
That Battle for the lead here, Chris. Down to the inside comes number 3, Earnhardt, going back for first. The Hendrick Chevrolet on the outside, the Childress car on the inside. It's Chevy against Chevy out of turn 2 and into the back straightaway, and Kowicki comes to third.
Well, you know, if Kowicki wanted to take lessons watching two greats go at it in front of him, he's got the great seats for it.
Here you see Wallace in fourth. Live this afternoon from Richmond, Virginia. Here's Kowicki down low. And Ricky Rudd, it's a replay of earlier. Earnhardt, who had to start dead last as the race began today, had to bring in the extra horses after he had a terrible crash yesterday, the last practice. Look at this. Here, in the lowest line out there is the Rusty Wallace machine in fourth place. He dove further down the racetrack and did not pinch it. Now he bobbles a little in the 27. The black and gold car is Rusty Wallace closing in on Alan Kowicki as they swap those positions up in front. Earnhardt is first. Car number 7 lies in second spot.
You know, Ken, at the back end of the lineup, Jeff Bodine has passed 8 cars since the green flag came out on the restart. Remember, he made that pit stop for an inspection of the right rear tire? Apparently nothing was wrong with the car, and he's on the move again, but way in the back.
Here you say Kowicki in second. Kyle Petty has made the lap up. Rusty Wallace third. Then in that fourth position, going down in turn 1, Ricky Rudd. Led briefly, falls back in the Chevrolet. Maybe he's willing to wait back there. Now trying to put Kyle Petty a lap down once again. Here comes car number 3.
Alan Kowicki right behind.
Dale Earnhardt trying hard to win that 40th Winston Cup race. Goes back out in front. 187 laps are now complete. Second place man is car number 7, Kowicki. And here's Rusty Wallace running third. Car number 17 running in 6 is Darrell Waltrip. Right with him, Davey Allison has reported a lap down. After months of preparation for the 500 at Daytona, Waltrip disappointed with their 14th place finish. You're not the only driver, but you're the team leader out there. So what are you going to do today at Richmond to get this team back in line, Darrell?
See, the problem that we have this week is morale. We're mentally beat up right now, emotionally beat up, if you will. So I can't probably drive my normal race, which is not a good plan for me, but in order to encourage my men and in order to get them their spirits up, I'm going to have to go out and dry the wheels off this thing Sunday. And I'm going to have to come back in with some wheel marks down the side of the car and the nose pop beat in a little bit and get my guys, you know, pumped up back to the point of where they got some confidence in me and the car and themselves. We had a bad day in the pits at Daytona. We had a bad day on the racetrack. They looked to the driver for leadership, and I didn't give it to them. And so we got to come in here this weekend, and we got to be as tough as we've ever been anywhere. Me as a driver, them as a crew, and try to pick ourselves up and so we can go forward in 1990.
And as you watch, Waltrip is fading back some more. He's not giving that leadership he wanted to. As you watch car number 17, you're looking at his pits. Let's go right there with Jeff Hammond and Steve Burns.
Jeff, Darrell Waltrip said that he was going to try and get the team pumped up. How are you guys doing today?
Right now we're struggling a little bit. We came in earlier, we're going to just change 2 tires, see if we can get the car up a little closer to the front. But right now the right side tires are not working very good with the left on the car, and the car is really bad loose. So we need to get a caution flag again, see if we can get back in and get back on track like we were a little earlier.
So Darrell Waltrip fading back here again, and they've got to make a tire change to get this one rectified. Meanwhile, up in front, as Dale Earnhardt continues to lead, battle developing for second place. This is Alan Kowicki in the 7th, and he is working over Rusty Wallace real strong. They lean on each other a little here, Chris.
That's great racing. A couple of Midwesterners going at it tooth and nail. An ASA graduate.
Rusty Wallace down low in the Pontiac, the Ford number 7 high. At lap 193, 7 away from halfway. At the Pontiac Excitement 400, here's Wallace taking a look to the inside now. Ricky Rudd lies 4th. Morgan Shepherd has come to 5th. Mark Martin is in 6th. Schrader is in 7th. Dick Trickle has moved up to 8th. And Sterling Marlin to 9th. Bill Elliott has come to 10th. Slippery, cold track. Beautiful day. In some race fans in America out here braving temperatures as we look back from Dick Trickle's car, number 66. Remember that Trickle in the 66 is being shown in 8th position. Kenny Schrader right there with him. They've turned a few laps together over the years. And up in front of him is Mark Martin.
Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt's got a clear track out in front.
Trickle fight this car. And as Ken Schrader was pointing out yesterday, this is all corner. There's the 15 car going a little high, and here comes that 66 car moving under it. This is the battle for 5th. Up to the outside goes number 15, Morgan Shepherd. Morgan was telling me something interesting today. He says, you know, the next thing you need in here is an oil thermostat. He runs it in his Grand National car. There's Morgan going high, and up underneath him comes car number 66, Dick Trickle. Morgan Shepherd says he uses an oil thermostat in his Grand National car. He found it in the Porsche automobile. He says he thinks that Bud Moore, if it gets this cold again, we use a similar piece of equipment on his Winston Cup car. He says the oil stays right at 212 degrees, right where they want it all the time, Chris. Here is Trickle in the 66. Up into 6. Mark Martin is now the man he's looking for. Martin's Ford. The Roush car is running in 5th position.
Jack Roush has got a lot of time and investment put into that number 6 car. It was fastest in practice last night, but he's got a wonder fix after yesterday's Sportsman race. Knocked down those barriers entering pit road. Mark Martin has been on a fitness program as we hit the halfway mark on the track, and there's Jeff Bodine in car number 11 is headed back to the pits again.
Bodine coming in, unscheduled stop at the halfway point on car number 11 for Bodine. Here he is rolling down into the Junior Johnson pits. He isn't moving too actively here. He's just kind of creeping in. Wonder what the situation is on number 11. Bodine had been fading back a bit. He brings the car to a halt. Not too much activity there. Looks like it may be over on car number 11, Jeff Bodine, who really gave it a shot here and gave us some great racing in the early going.
No word to see that. Meantime, Alan Kulwicki is pulling up on Dale Earnhardt, cutting that interval from the better part of a second down to less than half a second.
That's for second place. Berlin, Pennsylvania. They're out here. A lot of Pennsylvania fans today. I'm simply amazed at the enthusiasm of this crowd who've been in here since early this morning. And they're keeping warm by applauding these drivers around this very tricky, slippery track.
You hear about all the snow up in Pennsylvania, Ken.
Look at this fight going on for second spot. Here comes Kulwicki back into it as they lap Jimmy Means. Fight is on. Let me put that correctly here. That is for the point. That is for the lead. That is for the lead. And down to the inside goes Kulwicki, and he's going to take first spot. Alan Kulwicki goes up in front, and Earnhardt comes right back again.
You know, Ken, I've been watching this going on here. The leader gets out, gets going, and the next thing you know, somebody passes them. I think these regular tires, after they get to a certain temperature, they lose a little bit of their efficacy. And they have to slow down for a while.
Their efficacy? Their efficacy?
Their efficacy.
Does that mean they don't stick so good?
That means that you got it.
Rusty Wallace closes in. He's going for second spot. He's making it down the back straightaway as Alan Kulwicki goes out in front.
Is there a relief tube in the booth?
You want to take a break? Coming back 25 and 15 is a good story. And 7th is a good race.
Do you want Jeff Bodine for an expert analyst? And we're back live in Richmond, Virginia, where the great Richmond freeze-out of 1990 is half over. We've passed the midway mark. Let's take a look at our Goodyear mid-race recap here. We've had 9 lead changes in the event among 6 different drivers, running a pretty good 95.5 miles an hour here, given the conditions that they're running under. 6 cautions for a total of 33 laps. We have 3 cars out of the race thus far. Take a look at those cars. Harry Gant retiring with an engine failure. Richard Petty crashed. And Bill Meacham, a rookie in the race, lost the rear end and has gone home. Keeping the tires under the cars on this cold and slick racetrack has been the big issue. Let's take a look at the most spectacular incident created by that situation thus far in the race here today. Here you see the field coming off turn 4. Terry Labonte loops it in front of the traffic and does a double spin. Looked like everybody would get through. Rick Wilson just caught the wall, spun, and a total of 4 cars were involved. We're going to get back to the live racing action here as we wrap up our Goodyear mid-race recap and go back to Ken Squire.
Well, here you see Bill Elliott in the car, number 9. He is battling with Sterling Marlin. This is for 9th position with 213 of 400 laps complete. Bill Elliott in his Ford. Sterling Marlin, the 94 car, Oldsmobile, lapping Jimmy Means another time. We have a total of 15 cars in the lead lap, and there is your leader, Alan Kowicki, out in front. Alan had said we are going to try and turn all our 1989 negatives into positives, and they're making a pretty good effort in that direction here today as he fights his way back up through. He's retaken the lead a couple of times. 10 lead changes among 6 drivers. Kowicki currently up in front. Rusty Wallace has found his way to 2nd place, and Dale Earnhardt fallen back to 3rd, as we have seen happen on 2 previous occasions in the event. Chris?
Have you ever seen a race where the leading position seesawed so much as it has today? Remarkable.
Ricky Rudd lies 4th. Mark Martin is in 5th. Dick Trickle is in 6th. Ken Schrader is in 7th. Morgan Shepherd is in 8th. Here's Dale. He is back to 3rd spot now for the Childress team. Ricky Rudd lies 4th. And if you're just joining us at the halfway point, Ricky Rudd has a bonus of over $220,000 if he can pull it off today. He won the pole for this Richmond race, and in that skins game, he's got a chance at the big, big bonus.
They're really getting around here in consistent speeds, approaching the speeds that they qualified at, Ken.
Back in 27th position, 2 laps down, was a Crown Petroleum car, the rookie Robbie Moroso, fighting his way through the field and seeing it from the bottom end of this event. He qualified well for today's race, but was in a skirmish right off early, and after his 9th place starting spot, he's had to look up from under ever since. There's Kowicki continuing to lead, and you can see a little ding in the back of the car, and now they're reporting there is some liquid flowing from beneath car number 7, and the NASCAR sponsors are watching it.
On the right-hand side of that car, there's a nice wheel mark in the driver's door. Shows he's been in some push and shove situations.
Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Wisconsin in engineering for the lad that's out in front. Fine driver, calculating guy. Daytona did not go his way. He just has problems with those restrictor plates. This is his kind of racetrack, and he certainly is giving it a go as he moves in to lap more traffic and try to stay up in front in this hunt. Works on car number 19 here, the Chad Little car. Easily dispenses with him. Here he is working on Mickey Gibbs. Car number 7, Kowicki, who had such a great start a year ago, was all the way up in the points, and then it slid back. And Allen said over the winter, he said, we need to build continuity with this team. He's put more specialists into this team. He brought in Ashley Page. North Carolinian, who's been working in IMSA prototype racing. Put him in as part of the team, and hopes that with Paul Andrews and Slick Poston, who's a really good gear and transmission specialist that he pulled out of Hendrick Motorsports, that those specialized ingredients will move him up in the standings, give him some more victories this year. What about the fluid story? Steve Burns, you down there in Alan Kowicki's pits?
Yeah, I just talked with Paul Andrews, Alan Kowicki's crew chief. He said they think it's water leaking, but Alan reports that the gauges are all fine, so they're going to keep on going.
Keep on trucking.
You know, Alan Kowicki is about to put a lap on Darrell Waltrip. Waltrip gets a few minutes ago was in 5th place. One little misadjustment on the car can send a driver right to the back, and now Darrell Waltrip's about to be lapped.
And he's in 16th as Kowicki zeroes in on him and gets him in his sights. Something really amiss on Waltrip. That's the 2nd straight week, and he was talking about building the morale of the team, Chris. This is the tough part for him. He wanted to run well here today. They made a lot of preparation.
That's true. You know, this is the first race of the year with the unlimited engines. They have a lot more power under the hoods of the cars today than we saw a week ago at Daytona. And there he goes, 1 lap down. 226
complete as you watch Alan Kowicki putting Darrell Waltrip a lap down. Waltrip falling, and there are now 15 cars in the lead lap as it's Kowicki's turn to look indomitable in the Pontiac Excitement 400 on TBS from Richmond, Virginia.
What happened to Bodine?
Yes, he's coming to they just pulled it back. We're going to find out in a minute because he's going to do it. Answering Chris, just a second. I forget it. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. I don't care. Take anyone you want. I'll just.
Well, I went to see the tournament at the price. I was wondering what happened to Bodine. I don't see the car out there.
Yeah, he's garage. He's going back and he's going to talk to him about it.
Okay. Now, all right, listen. There's a question that should ask him. If those tires stay...
He's going to be... We can talk to him. We can talk to him in a minute. You want 3 and 5. And 1 is slowing down. 1 is slowing down going in the main straightaway. Yes, car 1 is slowing down going into turn 1. You also...
Fred, let's get 25 up there. We got things to talk about Schrader we haven't said yet, did we? 25. You're begging for a car. We give you one and you're only going to try.
1 is pitting.
Promotional fees and consideration have been paid by Timex. The Timex Motorsports watch is now available for $29.95. It features time, day, date, 16-hour timer with 8-lap memory. Quantities are limited. Order yours now. Call 1-800-4-TIMEX. And by the Holiday Inn Midtown, Richmond, 3200 West Broad Street. Proud participants in NASCAR racing. And by True Value.
Take on dirt, grease, and grime with a pack of free True Test professional cleaners. Just $2.98 in February at participating True Value hardware stores.
We are back under caution. There's been a major crash in turn number 1. The Bobby Hillen car, the Phil Parsons car lied there, but another car was involved. It is Alan Kowicki, the leader, who is just coming down across the start-finish line with the right side of his car savaged. He is all beaten in. Here's what happened. Here you see Kowicki going to the inside with car number 7. See a car losing up in front. Bobby Hillen goes up in smoke. Getting lost in the oil was Kowicki's number 7. He goes to the inside, comes back across. He slammed the inside fence and slid back across the track. He took a lot of damage. It looked like Bobby Hillen lost the engine on the Harry Hyde prepared car. Here's a second angle for you folks.
It was the evasive action that Kowicki took that did him in.
Kowicki collecting the inside wall and then crashing back to the outside. And here you see car number 4. And here's Kowicki pitting now. Oh, this is tragic for Alan Kowicki, who had such a good run running. Steve Burns is there.
There's severe damage to the back of Alan Kowicki's car. The back end is completely smashed in. There's sheet metal covering the left rear tire. They're going to try and pull all the sheet metal off of it. They're also on the right side. There's no gasoline leaking at this point.
You know, at Daytona, this would be a killer damage, but here the aerodynamics are not as important as at Daytona. If they can get the wheels free of the fender work and not lose any time, perhaps he can still have a chance at winning.
The car is so beaten up, it'll be a tough run for Alan Kowicki from here. I mean, the handle is gone on that car, as you can see from the damage he sustained on the right side of the machine. Continuing to work on his backside is all beaten in from where he collected the fence and backed up the track. That's a tough one for Alan Kowicki.
He'll be in again to get rid of that air dam on the right-hand corner.
Leading, if we get the opportunity, we had some pretty good camera work. We'll show you again what happened. Now, there is the Bobby Hillen car. You could see that it just erupted, and as it did, it really hit this wall a lick. It's a tremendous black mark. Alan Kowicki is re-pitting at his car number 4. Here's Kowicki coming back in another time. It was a very, very hard. He's going back behind the wall. Leading in the event, fought his way up there. You could see him going through the lap traffic, and a car in front of him lost the motor. Chris?
This is one less man Ricky Rudd has to worry about. There's bonuses in his eyes.
Well, there you see Alan Kowicki. Here is the Labonte car. That had been having trouble and was slowing a couple of times. Finally has come in. It had run slowly once, come onto the pit road, gone back out, run another slow lap. It's in, as is the number 7. And let's take a look again at what happened here at turn 1. Now you see the 7 car on the bottom of your screen. There's Phil Parsons outside, and it is the Hillen car erupting in smoke. And take a look at what happens.
See, if Kowicki hadn't swerved so sharply to the left, he could have kept going, and there'd be no trouble at all.
But I think he was in oil. I don't think he had much choice there, and he was already tagged by the 4, and away he went. Truly a victim of circumstance, misfortune, Alan Kowicki. There's the spinning car, the blown engine. Into the oil goes Phil Parsons. He grazes the wall, but Alan Kowicki's hopes of winning here today, his second Winston Cup victory after that tremendous. They had a lot of special plans. They really thought they were going to win today. He and his pit crew had all kinds of special things for the crowd they had organized. Remember the backward lap he took at Phoenix? They were confident this morning when I talked to them, and now he's taking off the helmet.
Job on that.
Let's go to Steve Burns.
Alan Kowicki, you had the car hooked up so well. What happened?
Somebody blew it. Somebody blew an engine in front of us and dumped a bunch of oil on the track. And it's too bad we didn't have anywhere to go with the Xerox Ford Thunderbird. I think this race was ours. I just can't believe this, man. We don't deserve this kind of stuff. But we're going to come back and run just as good next week and the week after that, and keep plugging away. We're going to win some races this year. That's just a real shame.
A very upset Alan Kowicki.
Well, that will cost Alan Kowicki some True Value Hard Charger points here today. He had moved into the lead in the point standings for the True Value Hard Charger Award. 5 points for leading a lap, 4 for second, and so on down. As we look at the standings, Kowicki had 683 points compiled just past the halfway point. Jeff Bodine is also out of the race, and we expect him to be joining us here in the pit center momentarily. So Ricky Rudd is currently in the driver's seat in the race for the $1,500 here today. A bad break for Alan Kowicki, as he is evidently out of the race for good. I don't think they're going to fix that car.
It was his 4th time here. He has started on the pole once. He had finished second a year ago in this event. He had a 6, broke a crank back in 1988. And Alan Kawicki, he does not deserve this kind of misfortune. He's a good racer, absolute victim of circumstance in this situation. Unlike most races, last Sunday's Daytona 500 had lots of winners. At least that's what Dave Despain thinks when he reviews that race in the context of the 1990 championship.
Again, the Daytona winner everyone will remember is Derek Cope, who pulled the biggest upset in stock car history. But the championship contenders who emerged from the 500 have more familiar names. Like Dale Earnhardt, for example. He dominated 499 of Sunday's 500 miles and served notice he's hungry for a 4th title. A blown tire on the last lap shattered his dream of victory, but until then, not one car had passed him on the racetrack.
Car drove good, ran good. Boom. That's all there was to it.
Before Kenny Schrader's engine blew Sunday, he passed 40 cars in 24 laps. Like Earnhardt, he missed the big prize, but he gained a huge psychological advantage. Every driver out there will remember the sight of number 25 looming in his mirror.
Rusty Wallace, who had a 7th place finish in that Daytona 500, now is shown as the leader here today after Alan Kawicki's misfortune. Coming up into 2nd spot for the first time this afternoon is Mark Martin. So as you lose one good Ford, another one comes right in there to contend. The Roush car is up, then Earnhardt is 3rd. Ricky Rudd is 4th. Dick Trickle lies 5th on the field. In 6th is Ken Schrader. 7th is Bill Elliott. 8th is Morgan Shepherd. 9th is Bodine. 10th is Sterling Marlin. 11th comes Jimmy Spencer. 12th is Butch Miller in the Travis Carter car. They're all in the lead lap.
You know, Mark Martin up there in 2nd place, he's devoted to becoming a successful racing driver. He's embarked on a physical fitness program that has developed his upper body to the degree he's had to throw all his old clothes away. They call them muscles down there in Pit Road. Now he's had to buy new and bigger clothes. He's become quite a physical specimen for a little guy from Batesville, Arkansas.
Here's Dick Trickle trying to get some heat into the tires. Just joining us, well, it's 32 degrees this afternoon in Richmond, Virginia. It's a beautiful day, but it is really cold, and it has created a situation where we've had 7 cautions thus far. This last one you can't blame on cold or tires. We had a blown engine on Bobby Hillen's car. He really hit the wall hard. I understand he's okay. We'll try to get a word with him shortly.
Hi, Jeff. I understand you're all through on the track and you're going to do some work for us today. I have a question for you, Jeff. What about these tires? We see so many guys go for the lead, get out there, and then the next thing you know, they fade a little bit. Is it the tires, or is it somebody else just beating them?
Well, no, I think what it is, we were running pretty hard out there, if you didn't notice. Everyone wanted to get up front, and what we could do, you could overwork these tires. You could run them a little too hard. It's cool. The engines are running great. You got a lot of horsepower. Everything's sticking real good, and you find yourself all of a sudden, whoops, you know, I slipped. I run a little too hard, got the tires a little too hot, even on a cool day like today. And then you see a guy fade back, and then you see another guy take over that might have saved his tires a little bit, just run a little bit easier, a little more conservative. He slides up in there and takes the spot away. I think that's a little bit of what I was feeling. The tires are a little inconsistent today. You know, the radios are great, and we don't see any problems out there like we thought we might see on restarts, spinning around, not getting warm enough to stick to the track. But the tires are just a little inconsistent. One set will be a little bit better. They all feel good when you first put them on, but then you find out, well, maybe these have a little too much stagger, or just not hooked up quite as good as the other set. So I think that's a little bit of what you see also. Everybody can really run hard there for a few laps, but then all of a sudden you find out, well, these tires aren't quite as good as what I thought they were.
Thanks very much, Jeff. Ken?
All right, we'll be back with more, and it's really a delight for us enthusiasts to have Jeff Bodine drop by and tell us what it's really like out there this afternoon in Richmond, Virginia. Back with more in a moment. No, forget it. I won't use it. No, I was trying to get you for about 2 minutes to ask you a question. And, no, this was back during the other thing, and nobody.
But I never did say what was wrong with his car, did he?
Who?
But I.
We need to. That's what I wanted to ask him.
Yeah.
We're back with you live at Richmond, Virginia. 244 laps have now been completed of the 400. That will account for the Pontiac Excitement 400. With Chris Economaki, I'm Ken Squire, Dave Despain at the STP Pit Center, Charlie Harville and Steve Burns along pit road, and a guy who was out here mixing it up, Jeff Bodine, is going to join us for some time today. Mark Martin has worked his way up into second spot with this car, number 6. Mark, you won last season. If the pressure back on to win again after that Rockingham a year ago?
You got to remember, Ken, we've only run 3 races. 3 races since we won. It's been a long time. It's been several months, but we've only run 3 races, and we finished 3rd at Phoenix of the very next race after we had won and led that race and all. So, you know, with that in mind, it's going to come to us, and hopefully it won't be forever, but if it takes 10, 15, 20 races, then that's what it's going to take.
Let's go to Mark Martin's pits. Charlie Harville is there.
I'm here with Steve Meal, the team manager. Steve, have you made any changes? How did you move into second place?
Other people's misfortune, mostly. We brought a good car here last fall and started the race too early and got in a wreck. So we've been talking to Mark every 5 or 10 laps, slowing him down, telling him just to ease along and take what he can get. Now with 150 or more laps to go here, we're just going to ride around and see what we got. I don't know if we can outrun him, but we're in pretty good shape.
But Dick Trickle's moved up to 5th place. He's got Kenny Schrader right behind him. The Southerners really aren't doing all that well today.
And there you see the Goodwrench car, the number 3 car that is running in 3rd. And remember, the 17 car, there's the 6 car in 2nd spot. Then Earnhardt is running in the 3rd position. Then the 17 car of Waltrip is a lap down. He is running in 13th place as we get ready on the restart. There's now 246 laps complete. Behind the 17 car of Darrell Waltrip, there you have car number 5. That's Ricky Rudd. And Rudd is shown 4th in the race. Behind him comes 66, Dick Trickle. He is in 5th position on this restart. And then up next in the 6th position should be Ken Schrader's car number 25. There he is. Schrader is in the lead lap in 6th, followed by Bill Elliott, who is showing the best he has yet. That's the 9 car that is running in 7th position. Then in 8th is Morgan Shepherd. 9th is Brett Bodine. 10th, Sterling Marlin. 11th, Jimmy Spencer. 12th, Butch Miller. Those cars all in the lead lap. And we're giving you a further rundown from several laps back on the entire field for you fans that have folks that aren't in this running order. We've had an intense battle up in front. We've had this tragedy for Alan Kowicki today as Bobby Hillen lost an engine down here in turn number 1. Bobby was having a pretty good time of it, too. And it's too bad to see the Snickers car out of it at this point. That was a new sponsor and a new team that had really come back together with Harry Hyde as crew chief. Car number 4 is back on pit road another time. That is Phil Parsons, the 3rd car involved in the altercation that took Alan Kowicki out of this Pontiac Excitement 400. Here he is coming back out as the review concludes here as how they were running. Let's go back to Dave Despain with Jeff Bodine. And Jeff, I'd like to know as we go down there, what did happen to car number 11 today?
Well, it's nice you guys asked. You know, I didn't just come in here to see Dave.
Oh, I thought you just wanted to get some warm coffee.
Looking
for a daytime job.
I'd rather be out there racing for sure. We think a camshaft broke, or the timing belt that runs the camshaft. The engine just quit running down the front straightaway. We looked at the rotor button. We thought, you know, these things have distributors with a little rotor button that turns around and fires the spark plugs, makes us run. And we took the cap off and looked at that little rotor button. It wasn't moving when the engine was turning over. So I guess something in there broke.
I want to know who you think is going to be strong today. Earnhardt coming from the back was very impressive. You've seen everybody run. You've been with the front runners. Who's going to win the race?
Rusty looks awful strong. Ricky Rudd, my old ride, can run good for a while. But he seems to fade back some, but they might be able to make some adjustments to pick their car up. there's a lot of good cars out there. Mark Martin, we don't know. Like Steve Himmel said, that we don't know what he's really has. I guess we'll see here in a little while. So there's still a lot of cars that could go up there and get rusty.
This $220,000 thing from Unical has just gotten so outrageous. The amount of money hasn't been won in almost a year now. From a driver's viewpoint, can you really put that out of your mind and not think about it as Ricky said he was going to?
I think it's out of Ricky's mind right now. I think he's just concentrating on what he has to do to get his car in front of whoever's in front of him. Believe me, it's a lot of work out here. Even though it's cool, I still worked up a little sweat out there a few times.
We're getting ready to go back to green. Let's go back to Ken Squire.
250 laps as they'll get green again, and see Waltrip in car number 17. He's going to fight to try and get his lap back. Rusty Wallace deployed up in front.
They're going to go for another lap under the yellow. Jimmy Spencer just had to fall out of line a little bit ago and go in and get that Heinz Ketchup car looked upon there. He's doing a good job for Pennsylvania fans. Got a lot of fans, as you said earlier, Ken, from the Keystone State here, and Jimmy is doing a superb job in his first full season on this circuit.
Well, they were ready to come to green. They'll take one more lap, so it'll be 251 when we go for the green today. $458,000, the Post Award, plus an extra $220,000 up if Rudd comes home first. He will start in fourth spot. Here you see Waltrip trying to get a little fire into those tires under car number 17 as he brings it out of the bleach box, gives it a little run there. Car number 27, Wallace. He'll be the leader. They'll pull up alongside each other for this start.
You know, 36 cars took the green flag, and there's still 30 of them out there. We're 5/8 of the way through the contest and had a lot of skirmishes, but very few are at park.
Let's see if Waltrip can get his lap back. Wallace immediately asserts himself as they come to green, and he's the man that can do that. He thunders down through and just pushes that Pontiac back out in front. Doesn't want to take any chances with Darrell. Wants to keep him down if he possibly can. You get Waltrip back in the lead lap towards the end of these things, and he'll scorch you, as they'll tell you from experience in the Goodies 300 down at Daytona a few years ago. So we're away, and we're back under green. We've completed 7 caution periods, and this was the most serious of the day when Bobby Hillin blew in turn number 1, and Alan Kowicki, the leader's car, was caught in the crash. Rusty Wallace is out in front, all of them just taking it easy, right on the edge of control as they try to get some heat back in these tires. This is where we've had trouble on 3 previous occasions after about 2 laps. Fading back is the 17 car. Notice Waltrip dropping back again. And the front 4, there's Ricky Rudd down to the inside, stays right up in there. What a mix of cars today, Chris. Here you have a Pontiac in first, then you have a Ford in second, the black number 3 Chevrolet up there, and then the Chevrolet of Ricky Rudd, Pontiac of Dick Trickle, all in this front collection.
Exactly, and Schrader's back there too. I think before this day is out, Ken Schrader's going to be a factor. He's been playing it very cool, flying back there, staying within striking distance. And as I said before, this business of so many different leaders is quite remarkable in this form of competition. Now there goes Mark Martin on the outside, trying for the lead for the first time today. And Dale Earnhardt waiting for one of them to make a mistake.
And here comes Earnhardt down to the inside, and he blazes through. Martin gave him just a little room. He didn't want to get in contact with these very skittish tires on this cold day. So now you have it once again. Rusty Wallace up in front. And his old compadre, Dale Earnhardt, right there knocking on the rear door, the rear trunk lid, as they come back across the line to complete 256 laps.
Literally and figuratively knocking on the back bumper there. He gave him a little bit of nudge. Hey, Rusty, here I am. Look in your mirror. Guess who's here?
Down to the inside moves Earnhardt. He's ready to take a run at first place. Earnhardt on the inside going back to first. Here's Wallace on the outside, Chevy on the inside, Pontiac high, down to turn number 1. There could be a little leaning here. Still even in 1. And into 2, it is Earnhardt going back up into the lead position. We've seen this circumstance before, Jeff Bodine, and then we've seen Dale come back. What do you think the story is here?
It looks like Rusty is having a little trouble handling. Looks like the car's got a little tight, and this is what can happen. You change tires, you get a little different setup. The car wants to push, it doesn't want to turn going into the corner. I think that's what slowed Rusty down, and Dale obviously has a good set of tires. He just motored on by.
Well, as the fans who've been watching all day will vouch for. This car number 3 has done this. Remember, it came from the rear at the very beginning of the race after he crashed in practice yesterday. It's gone out in front, and then it's been reeled in by those second, third, fourth place cars, and it's been this group that's done it each time.
Well, whatever memories Dale Earnhardt has of that outside wall between turns 3 and 4 seem to be forgotten the way he runs through that corner now. That's where he had his problem yesterday, and he really took care of his car. I mean, he did it in completely, and here he is out front. Remember, he started last today, and he's out in front and running away.
Banging up race cars does not bother Dale Earnhardt one iota. Number 4, Phil Parsons, is back on pit road. I'll never forget down there at Daytona when he wrapped his Grand National car up in a ball, put it wheel to wheel, and without 10 minutes or 15, as soon as they opened the track up for Winston Cup practice and the other automobile, he shrugged it off. As has Schrader shrugged off that hard crash, but you know he's got to be hurting, that his shoulders and his chest, and as you say, we saw his foot yesterday, and
black and blue.
It was bad looking. Says that's part of the game. We have 262 down, and all of a sudden that Earnhardt lead goes away. Here comes Wallace, climbing, creeping, crawling right back up on the back of number 3. Looking further back, you saw the 66. That was Dick Trickle holding off Morgan Shepherd. But here's the story. It's up in front. Earnhardt is there, and look at Wallace in the Pontiac closing up. Mark Martin in the Ford. As 3 different manufacturer makes battle it out at Richmond in race 2 of the $20 million Winston Cup Series for 1990. Jeff Bodine.
And, you know, Dale went up and passed Rusty. Looked like Rusty's car was a little tight. But that can happen on a restart. A car can be a little tight early going. Dale's car was a little looser, which made it go a little faster on those new tires. But now it looks like the tighter setup that Rusty has is going to be the better setup for the long run. He's come back to close on Dale, trying to get underneath him coming off turn 2, and now Dale's a little loose. You can see him working the steering wheel pretty hard coming off those corners. That means his car's loose. Rusty's tight setup is coming in to working really good now, and we got a heck of a race going.
And we've got a great race just behind it back in 5th spot as the Dick Trickle car and the Morgan Shepherd car fight it out. But look at this up in front. Here is Rusty Wallace back on the inside. Meanwhile, car number 15, Morgan Shepherd, has taken 5th. Schrader's gone to 6th. Trickle has fallen from 5th to 7th. This is where the story is. It's right up in 1st place. Bottom of the racetrack. Rusty Wallace is there. On the outside, it is Dale Earnhardt.
I don't think fans at any racetrack have seen as competitive an event as we're watching today. Here, side by side for the lead is more the rule than the exception today. And Mark Martin now tries to get by Dale Earnhardt for second as Wallace takes a 2-car length lead.
And look at Ricky Rudd just sitting there and waiting. I wonder what's going through his mind right now as we come up toward 270, completing a couple of laps. He's driven a very smooth, smart race in that car number 5 for Waddell Wilson. He just sits there. I wonder if he is waiting on this. He's shown that he can go up and lead. For the moment, it is Wallace again, seeking 3 in a row here at Richmond in the black, the Miller car, number 27. And then it is Mark Martin right there in 2nd spot. Fastest car yesterday. If you're just joining us, this car had him covered in the final practice. And here's the car that sat on the pole for today's race, number 5. What a job Ricky Rudd is doing. Here's your front 4 still all together. And then you see Darrell Waltrip running 13th, 1 lap down to the leaders. Further back in the field, Morgan Shepherd has taken over in 5th. Schrader has gone to 6th. Trickle is holding 7th. Bill Elliott is in 8th position. And Brett Bodine is shown in 9th with Jimmy Spencer 10th. Here's the 66 Trickle car trying to move back around Schrader. They've been having a go at it for a while out here. Number 66, bottom of the racetrack. And he's making the mark. Number 66, Dick Trickle, picks up a spot. Incidentally, car number 7 is back out. Several laps down, fighting for points. Game competitor from Wisconsin. Here's Alan Kowicki, who was leading when he was crashed out of this race. The Bobby Hillin car lost an engine. And Alan Kowicki lost all hope of a victory here at Richmond this year. Here are the front 3, and it's going to stay that way, we think, right down to the checkers.
Right.
Call him in after, because you're really going to have a fight. 15 is pulling up on 5 for 4th spot.
Bodine.
With Bodine, give us car 5, because you're going to have a pass in there very shortly. Chris Economaki, I'm Ken Squire topside. Dave Despain along, Steve Byrne, Charlie Harville, and Jeff Bodine has joined us here at Richmond International Raceway, where TBS is bringing you at 277 laps complete. Just a dandy of a race. It doesn't get any better than what we're enjoying this afternoon here at Richmond, Virginia. Here are the front 3, with Rusty Wallace leading, Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt. And you saw a lap car, and you're beginning to see a real buildup of excitement back behind that lap car. We'll follow that story in a moment. But let's watch what happens when these top competitors move their way through turn 4, Chris.
At the end of the tapered guardrail, these 4 Fitch inertial barriers made by John Fitch, a former driver. They're plastic barrels filled with energy-absorbing material. Watch how close these cars come to them. And yesterday, Mark Martin, who's now in 2nd place fighting for the lead, ran into these barrels. They're just a couple inches away. It's amazing how close they cut this corner.
That concrete wall separating pit road at turn 4 from the racetrack. Here are the front 3. Jeff Bodine, how do you think it looks out here?
Looks like fun. It's killing me to sit in here, but you know, our Budweiser Thunderbirds are running so good. We led the race some. We were running 2nd, 3rd. We had to make that pit stop when no one else did to tighten up some lug nuts, and that put us behind in all that traffic, but the car was really running good, and I'm sure with all these other cautions, we would have made that up and got back up here with these guys. It's eating my heart out having to watch this thing go, but there's a lot of racing left this year that's real early in the season. Maybe we get our bad luck out of the way early, and we'll go on and have all good luck the rest of the year.
How's your brother looking to you, Brett, Jeff?
Well, I got a chance to race the little brother out there a little bit when I came through that pack from the back, and he didn't look all that bad, but it looked like he might have been having some brake problems, or he just didn't seem to be able to run down in the corner like he wanted to. Of course, when I went by, he kind of picked up the pace a little bit. We see him behind Dick Trickle and Kenny Schrader, so maybe he's got a little inspiration now that I'm not out there to bring the Bodine name up front a little bit more.
Well, he's doing a grand job, and we're seeing him right here. Here's Dick Trickle moving under Ken Schrader for 6th, and your brother right there with him. To the bottom of the screen. He looks good out there, Jeff.
His car looks really good. It looks like it's working well on the bottom of the racetrack, and that's the hard part of this racetrack, is trying to get your car to drive down in that corner right there and turn. And then when you get off the corner right here, when you get back into power, not to have the back wheel spin, to get loose. It's very tricky. Brett obviously is getting off the corner good. He just drove up underneath Dick Trickle there with no problem.
He sure did. He's picked himself up another spot. You see Brett Bodine on the leaderboard in 6th position now in the Kenny Bernstein car at number 26 machine. How difficult is it, Jeff Bodine, to get off those corners and not spin those wheels on this 3/4 mile track?
If your car's loose, you're going to spin your wheel. That's kind of what you see Dale Earnhardt's problem is right now. He's able to keep up pretty good with what he has, but the other 2 fellows are a little quicker. They can get back in the throttle a little bit sooner, get a little more momentum down these long straightaways. Like I said, if you can get your car to turn in the middle, a lot of times you're going to be a little loose coming off.
Jeff, how tender do you have to be on the throttle to make it work, to keep it hitched up out here?
If you're tender on the throttle, you're going to be like Dale is, about 10 cars behind that front group. I was running every lap just about as hard as I could go to maintain whatever position I was in. That's what you see right here. These fellas are working hard. No one is holding back, believe me.
Jeff, that wasn't my point. The question really is, when you come off these corners on this track and to avoid rear wheel spin, how do you use the throttle as we watch Dale Earnhardt here?
It's kind of like in a dirt car. You use the throttle to drive the car. The harder you push down on the pedal, the more horsepower you got, the more likely you are to spin those wheels. So when you feel that wheel slip, just before it slipped, you hope you can feel it. You back off just a little bit, and let that catch up, and then you nail it.
We've got a spinner down here in turn 4. All the way around goes car number 19, and he lands on the front end of another machine. Oh, that's unfortunate. The car that spun was Chad Little, and the man he collected was Rick Wilson, and that's identical to the spot where Wilson was in trouble a year ago. Remember the incident with Butch Miller, that fiery crash? Well, this one wasn't nearly as serious as that, but once again, at turn 4 here at Richmond, the car of Rick Wilson, now the 75 car, a year ago was number 4, gets beaten up, and he'll have some serious work to do to get the nose of that one straightened out.
He had it looked like an hour and a half to watch that coming. He zigged, and the car got front up, and he zagged, and it was still in front.
And he had the brakes on. He had it all locked up.
And he's only going about 2 miles an hour when the guy
backed into him.
And look at the damage done to the front of the car. Tough break. That car's been beat up today. The right side got banged up very early, and now it's shortened up in the front. We're seeing a lot of equipment digged up today. Uncle Wickie's car, and now this car, as he heads into the pits, everybody's going in the pits. Fresh tires, gasoline, 110 laps to go. It may well be that we could go to the finish on the fuel that they're going to be taking on.
Let's go to Charlie Harville.
Rusty Wallace at his pit stop, they have been scouring the pits, other teams' tires, for tires that have been scuffed a little bit. They run better on these under these conditions, and they're putting some of those scuffed tires on number 27 right now.
Mark Martin just made a 4-tire stop. They think they're in good position to make a run to the front. Morgan Shepherd also leading the pits. Morgan Shepherd is running in 5th position prior to the pit stop, and he's doing so with a broken rib and torn cartilage suffered in a wreck at Daytona in practice.
Steve, asked them down there if they can go the rest of the race on the fuel they have. 110 laps to go.
Steve Byrne and Charlie Harville down there on pit road following this Pontiac Excitement 400 here at Richmond International Raceway on a cold, clear, beautiful day. But the fans that have turned out for this one are the kind of fans you would love to have at any track in America. Dedicated and enthusiastic about this sport, came early and are enjoying it, and it's muffler weather. Let's take a look again at what just happened up here to Chad Little. Car got loose. You could see him running up against the outside wall, and it finally got out from beneath him as if he'd cut a tire down. And now watch what happens. Poor Rick Wilson thought he'd taken the right move as that car was on the high side. It's that old line of yours, Economaki. You always want to aim exactly for where they are, because by the time you get there, they'll be gone.
Exactly. Well, it didn't happen that way for Rick Wilson.
Let's go to the STP Pit Center. Dave Despain.
Jeff Bodine is with us today. And Jeff, the question about these tires, one of the things that the new tires have done is reduce what they call the stagger adjustment. The tires are all the same size. We heard that yesterday in the Grand National race, Dale Earnhardt's tires grew almost an inch, which makes a tremendous impact on the handling of the car. My question is, how much does that take away from the crew's ability to adjust the car now that they've made what could be their final pit stop?
Believe me, we love it. We love that consistent tire the radial tire gives us. We can count on that tire pretty much staying the same size no matter what happens. So now we can go to the chassis. We can make that turn a wedge change on the front or the back, a little tweak here, a little tweak there, and we're pretty confident what it can do to the race car.
Let me ask you about something totally different. I understand now if I'm a race car fan, if I'm a Winston Cup fan, I want to talk to Jeff Bodine. All I got to do is pick up the phone. I can call you right there in the bedroom. Is that the way that works?
Well, you know, they were talking about these fans sitting in the grandstands today, loyal fans. Well, they really are. And what we've come up with is called the Winston Cup Hotline, which is for our loyal fans. They can call in Monday afternoon and listen to their drivers talk about the race they had on Sunday. And this line is on all week long. It's updated every Monday, so there's a new thing in there from the race that we had that weekend. And the number, let me give it to you, is 1-900-446-9287, which is W Cup. That's 900-446-9287. 9287. It really is for the race fans. It's a lot of fun. I even call up and listen to Dale Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, Darrell Waltrip. All you have to do is punch in their numbers. And
Hey, listen, Jim, Chris Economack here. Now, wait a minute. It's bad enough we got race drivers doing television. Now they're doing commercials. I'm going to buy a helmet.
Well, you know, I need to tell the fans who's on the line.
Yeah, right, sure.
Dale Earnhardt, Mark Martin,
Yeah.
Darrell Waltrip,
Exotica
Neil
race
Bonnet,
phone calls.
Rusty Wallace, Michael Waltrip. Here again.
We're back under green. That Bodine's incredible. Give him an inch, and he'll make a phone call. 294 laps are complete as we're back under green, and look at this. Up goes Ricky Rudd on the outside in that Chevrolet. The Waddell Wilson motor hauls him down the backstretch, and he pulls around Rusty Wallace to retake the lead.
Virginia driver eligible for the pole bonus in Jeff Bodine's old car out in front.
Earnhardt lies third. I'd like to place a phone call to Ricky Rudd right now and ask him how he thinks things are going today. Here he is in the back straightaway in car number 5. And as you get this view as the field limbers down into turn number 3, Robbie Moroso, his car number 20, back in the pack after an early altercation in today's race. He's the only of one of the rookies running for Winston Rookie of the Year honors that made the field. And he's gaining some very valuable experience out of here. He's sure finding out it isn't like running in the Saturday show. Meanwhile, up in front, look at Earnhardt work over Rusty Wallace at turn number 3. This is a grand race, Chris.
Really, you know who a sleeper is in this race, Ken? Is Bill Elliott. Closing in closer and closer to the front now.
He's running fifth right now.
Running fifth and staying with the leaders. The race is a long way from being over. It's got 103 laps to go.
George and Mildred are down there in Atlanta. Hope you're feeling well, Miss Elliott, as your son just keeps on picking away at this thing, and he just watches them out and stays away. That's actually what he is doing is a Waltrip kind of race. He is letting everybody else do the racing and beating up, and he's kept his car clean, and there's still 102 laps remaining to decide this one.
2 laps, Ken, before we find out if this guy may have just made $350,000 pit stop. That's how much money that Ricky Rudd can walk out of here with today if he wins the race from the pole. Look at the lead. He's just running away from what was the battle for the lead is now the battle for second place. Jeff Bodine, you talked a moment ago about the drop-off in the tires and about how long it takes before those tires give up. How soon will we know if Rudd is that much better than everybody else?
Watch and see. We don't know. He looks awful good right now. I mean, what a difference a pit stop can make. He was falling back. He couldn't keep up with the front cars. Now he's pulling away from him. But that car right there, number 3, zeroing in on that 5 car. He did that a lot last year when I was in the 5. So I know Rudd's in there saying, "Come on, baby, get going," because he doesn't want Earnhardt to get up there and have to race with him, because right now he's running his line. He can do whatever he wants out there. Put the car wherever he wants to make it go as good as it can and save those tires. If Earnhardt gets up behind him, he's going to have to start doing some other things maybe to keep him behind, overwork the tires, and then he could get in some serious trouble. Tires get hot and go away.
As we watch the leader continue to hold that advantage that he's built, let's go down to Steve Burns on pit road.
With Waddell Wilson, the crew chief. Waddell, Ricky took off like a shot on the restart. What'd you guys do to the car?
Well, the car's pretty good with new tires on a restart, but I'd like to still change the sway bar and a couple of springs. You know, it's our first time together here at Richmond, and we didn't hit the chassis like we'd like to.
Can he go
but, you know, we'll get better as time goes on.
Can you go the distance on gas?
Yes, we can make it on fuel. That's not a problem, I don't think, for anyone.
Everybody on pit road is saying they can go the distance.
Few people I respect as much as Waddell Wilson. He is something. He's going to make 2 or 3 more adjustments. Here's the battle for third. Excuse me, Chris, but battle for third beginning to develop as you watch car number 6 and number 9, Bill Elliott, beginning to roll his way up through. He's a little further back. You see the number 6 and the 27th. Here's the 6 car in the 4th position, then a lap car, and Elliott keeps on trucking. He keeps moving up, although Elliott is now being put under some pressure from Morgan Shepherd. There they are in turn 4. Let's see if we can. Here they are coming down the main straightaway. There are those 3 cars running up in front, and here is the 15 car of Morgan Shepherd, bottom of the racetrack, and that puts a dent in Elliott's hopes today. The Bud Moore Ford moves under the Melling Ford in the backside, and that is number 15. Morgan Shepherd up to 5th. Bill Elliott drops to 6th.
Would you believe, Ken, that Ricky Rudd's lead of 1 3/4 seconds is the largest lead held by anyone today? That's the kind of a race we've seen. Less than 2 seconds, and it's the biggest lead enjoyed by anyone out front. Anyone.
See Morgan Shepherd in the 15 car? Well, he is beginning to turn the wick up. He's beginning to close in. He now is as fast as anything on the speedway and is trying to find some running room to make up the difference between himself and Morgan Shepherd. Back with more shortly.
Got a caution. Where is it?
2 cars.
10 and 98 in both.
Yep.
Well, there goes his big lead.
Yep.
Break for Earnhardt. What if
Fred, can I take a break for a minute? And come back to David? Yep. And do a replay with Jeff Bodine.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you.
Alexander Haig is here.
Hey, what's going on? Well, 1/900.
Do we know why the yellow is out?
Fred, you're going to want Cope because Jeff's got to leave in about 50 laps. Okay.
Maybe.
Why is the yellow out?
There's a wreck.
Hey, Chris.
The Daytona winner.
Yeah, I have
Derek Cope wants to get some ink.
I don't know what they were doing. It took them a long while there.
And we're back live at Daytona, from the pinnacle of success to this kind of a disappointment. I said we're back at Daytona. A week ago at Daytona, this guy had the pinnacle of success. And now we're at Richmond, and Derek Cope, well, you see how his day has ended. He has spun the car and also collected the 98 of Butch Miller in the incident. And as we take a look at it here, Cope has already spun and is bouncing off the wall. Now where does Miller come from? Jeff, in a situation like this, are you, oh boy, he hit hard too, head on. Are you just playing dodge 'em cars out there? Do you have any idea whether the other guy's going to go?
No, you don't. You just hope you take a shot. You take your best guess, and you hope you guess right. We see a little fire underneath the 98 car, but they got that out okay. There's no problem there. But, boy, you just hope and pray that you make the right move, and sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
But it's, I mean, we always say a masterful piece of driving by Jeff Bodine as he dodged that incident. In reality, how many times do you just have your eyes closed trying to dodge down through there?
No, you don't close your eyes, but really, some fellas have a better instinct for where to go, and that's true. And so some fellas are better at missing those accidents, or missing the car to swerving down the straightaway. Poor Rick Wilson seems like he's having trouble missing those cars, but you get in that kind of a syndrome, a rut. It just seems like everything gets in front of you, and then you can go for years and years where nothing does.
Could instinct have gotten you past this? Would you have made the same move that Butch did?
Well, hopefully not. There goes my brother on the outside. He made the right move. Hopefully
that was the Bodine move.
The other Bodine would have made the same move.
We've got one more view of this, I believe, from the in-car camera. This is from a backstretch camera, and here you see a good view of what happened to Cope. He just lost the car off the turn, tried to correct it, and snapped back on him. That was actually the start of the mishap that ended here with both those cars heavily damaged as they ended up hitting nose to nose, and it's going to take a little while to clean that mess up. Cope's car not quite as badly crunched, I don't think, as Miller's, but this will take a little bit.
If you get high off of turn 2 like Derek did, and I even saw my brother in the background up pretty high, but he saved his car. There's a lot of loose rubber, chunks of rubber, dust, speedy dry that lays up there because no one runs there. And if you get up in that stuff off of turn 2, it just kind of sucks you right over to the wall like you saw Derek do.
Everybody talks about that being the toughest part of this racetrack. You've got basically a track that's 2/3 corner, and yet it's the exit out onto the straightaway that causes the problem. What is it about turn 2?
It's a tight cutback. Turn 4, exiting that is just a big, long corner. You go down into turn 1, a sweeping entry, a long entry. It's hard to figure out where to let off the gas. It's such a long entry into 1. But when you get down into 1, you have to turn the car sharp and then come off of a very tight radius corner in turn 2. And that's where we have our trouble. We try to jump back in the gas hard, get that momentum down the back straightaway, and if you get out of line, just a little bit out of line, you can bump in that wall real easy.
You have something in common with Butch Miller, short track driver who came up through the ranks, tried to crack Winston Cup, paid all the dues that everybody has to do. This guy Miller has finally found a good ride with Travis Carter. We know Derek Cope's story, winning that miracle Daytona 500, but I got to believe that Butch Miller is going to be a man to contend with now that he's got a good ride.
Well, Butch really is. Travis puts a good car out, and he gets a lot of help from a lot of people, and that should be a good ride for Butch. Butch is a very talented race driver. Derek Cope is a very talented race driver, but it doesn't take long to find out how tough Winston Cup racing is for those real talented race drivers on short tracks all over the United States. Guys, I know you're listening. This is tough. It looks easy. I thought it was easy. I used to sit here and watch this television and sit in those grandstands and said, boy, anybody can do that. But it is the toughest type of racing in the world. Believe me, the cars are heavy, tires are narrow and hard, under horsepowered for the weight. Aerodynamics is not like an Indy car or Formula One. They don't stick to the ground very good. They're hard to drive.
There's the man who has emerged as the leader, and to follow his progress, let's go back up topside and rejoin Ken Squire.
You know what I thought Bodine was going to do, Chris? Because he's going to say, and for you folks listening at home, I will teach you how to drive.
Right,
Call
new school,
Meadowbrook,
right. Dick Trickle,
1-800.
Yeah, Dick Trickle has got some insulation here. His nearest contender, Rusty Wallace, has got 6 slower cars between Rusty and Trickle when this restart comes. Be interesting to watch.
Dick Trickle out in front for the first time today in the Kale Yarborough team car, number 66. New sponsor this year and new enthusiasm from a great veteran. You know, Dick Trickle's wife told me, she said that in the middle of the night, Trickle will wake up and start calling for changes on the car, for different changes and settings and so forth. And she says, it's all handled, it's taken care of. And he falls right back to sleep. Car number 66 did not pit this time. The others behind him did, hence the reason why Dick Trickle is in front as we get set for a go. And we have a couple more laps at least before they're going to turn these cars loose. It may be 3 laps, so let's take this commercial break and we'll be back with more.
Yeah, I got it, Bill.
Just doing my job, guys.
Thursday evening with our live show this week in NASCAR. Chance to participate.
Promotional fees and consideration have been paid by the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, makers of the Goodyear Eagle High Performance Street Radials, the best-selling performance tires in the world. Today's in-car camera was brought to you by Phillips 66 Trop Arctic Motor Oil, the high-quality motor oil for year-round engine protection. Long live your car with Phillips 66 Trop Arctic. Crown Central Petroleum Corporation and Fast Fare Convenience Stores are the proud sponsors of Rob Moroso and car number 20, the Crown Extra Oldsmobile.
318 laps are complete, one lap, and we'll be going back to green. 319 as they come to the line now. Let's go quickly to Dave Despay.
We've got to hurry, but we've got to do this bit of business. Jeff Odine's got to leave, but they asked me to quickly write up a bill. It's $119,000 for the commercial. Give me that hotline card.
1-900-446-9287. Ken, Chris, call in. You can hear all these guys tell about how it was today in a race.
Thanks for coming, Jeff Bodine. Let's get back to Ted Squire.
Oh, he is a piece of work. As we get set on the restart, Trickle is on the point. Rusty Wallace in second. Ricky Rudd in third. Yeah, it's less expensive to keep Bodine in the race, isn't it, Chris? Here we are. Pace car is coming in. And let's see if Ricky Rudd can handle these front two automobiles in that Chevrolet that's running back there in third. Here's the break. They go 3 wide coming to the line. Still 3 wide going to the turn. Neil Bonnet in the middle there. Kyle Petty downstairs. And getting pinned on the outside was Mark Martin. Front 3 are away. And look at Dick Trickle. He was extremely confident yesterday. Felt all morning we were over there hanging around in his truck. He says, you know, we can do it here. Well, so far he's been running out back, hiding on him. Now he's out in front, but in second spot, it is Rusty Wallace. And right behind him as we look at the lead from the guy up there on it.
You got to know Ricky Rudd's thinking about the bonus right now.
Looking out the backside, we got a real slam-bam going on for the position right behind him. Down to the inside goes car number 5, trying to work on Rusty Wallace. You can see them line up there. And going into the turn, it is Ricky Rudd down low in the Hendrick car. He's up into second place and closing on car number 66. Backside of the racetrack, Trickles in front, Ricky Rudd in second, Rusty Wallace third, Mark Martin in fourth. The into turn 3. The number 5 car fades high, brings it back down, stays right in line, does Red. Pontiac in first and Chevrolet in second, Pontiac in third. Let's go to Steve Burns in Dick Trickle's pit.
With the car owner, Cale Yarborough. Cale, as a driver, you're used to being out front. Is it hard for you to sit here in the pits and watch it?
Well, yes, it is, but Dick's doing a fine job. We elected not to stop on that last caution flag. Our car seems to be running a little bit on used tires. That 5 car looks awful strong now.
Cale, are you surprised your team is running this well?
Well, not really. We came together at the end of last season and came up with a Phillips 66 Trop Arctic sponsorship, which helping us out a lot, and I feel like we're going to be a team to be reckoned with before the year's over.
Thank you, Cale. Back up top.
Well, there's one thing about it. Yarborough and Trickle do see eye to eye. They're identical in height and identical in their determination as racers. Cale Yarborough now over there on the other side of the wall. It was grand to see him in the days of yore right here on this racetrack where he put on some great shows. Take a look at this spread, the interval over those front 3 cars. Look at Rudd, Chris, just walking away now from Rusty Wallace in that second spot. Dick Trickle in third, Dale Earnhardt, number 3 is in fourth. And falling back some more is Trickle now as that 6 car moves around. Look at the 3 down low on the 66.
Wallace is closing on Rudd, however, for second, chasing down the leader. Oops, another crash.
Got a crash up in turn 4. Looping, it looks like Davey Allison in trouble here.
All alone.
Michael Waltrip had just pulled into the pits. Michael Waltrip won the Grand National race here yesterday after a lengthy delay because of rain.
Second spin there for Davey Allison of
running
today.
Back to the line. Kyle Petty trying to make up a lap and didn't get it done. Ricky Rudd stayed just in front of him as they crossed the stripe. So that is the 10th caution of the day. 328 laps are complete.
72 to go. And Ricky Rudd being breathed on heavily from behind by Rusty Wallace. Dale Earnhardt waiting in the wings there.
Ricky Rudd was the '84 winner. Rusty Wallace has won both the spring, the winter, and the fall race here at Richmond. Yeah, and here comes the leader onto pit road. Rudd is coming in. Kyle Petty pits, and the 66 comes in. It elects to take on some rubber here as we get ready for the shootout for the finish. Let's see what they're going to do on car number 5. 1 lap to green.
You know,
right side tires being strapped on car number 5.
4 tires.
All the way around now, from right to left.
He's one of only 5 cars on pit road. This is going to be some strategic maneuver.
12 cars in the lead lap. It's going to get really interesting at the end of this one, and the car to watch now will be this number 5 as he tries to slither up through traffic and not get collected by anybody on the racetrack. Davey Allison's 28. Back on pit road again. Pace car is coming in as the field jams for a start. Coming down, and it will be Rusty Wallace up in front, Dale Earnhardt in second, Mark Martin in third, Bill Elliott up to fourth, Morgan Shepherd in fifth as they go into the first turn.
Barry Dodson, who's the crew chief for Rusty Wallace, told me that they tried the tires that they got off Harry Gant's car. The tires had 4 laps on them, slightly scuffed. They didn't work too well. They've gone back now to sticker tires, new tires on the car of Rusty Wallace, and that appears to be working.
What I'd like to know is who ordered that pit stop for Ricky Rudd. Did Ricky want it, or did Waddell Wilson order it? It'd be interesting to find out who's planning the strategy here.
Back straightaway. There you see we've got trouble in turn 2. Cars spinning and sliding out of turn 2.
Chad Little again.
Alan Kowicki slowing down and getting around, as well as Phil Parsons. Caution is on the track. That's number 11 today. 332 laps down. 400 laps the distance. It's been a tremendous race, but it is so cold, no one can get a bite on this track, and the cars keep skittering out from underneath drivers and sending them spinning here.
There you can see Chad Little. He's had a tough day today in that number 19 car.
Dave Marcus is 71 on the bottom of the racetrack, just missing disaster there.
He's used to sunny California, Ken.
Ricky Rudd's gamble on the pit stop almost proved to be a double gamble. He just missed that spinning car. Had he stayed out, he'd have been ahead of it, but because he pitted and was at the tail end of the lead pack there, he was right in the thick of that, and it was a very close call. You'll see it right here. We'll see Rudd in the yellow and white. He'll be coming from the right side of your screen. There's the 19 spinning. Zing, there goes Rudd, just getting by. And we talked about the $350,000 pit stop earlier. That could have been a $350,000 crash.
He dodged a shotgun blast on that one.
That's right. Well, Rusty Wallace is out in front with Dale Earnhardt, one of his arch rivals, right on his back bumper as they come down to the next restart. How many green flags we've seen today?
Pace cars in. They will have completed 334 when they get green. Ricky Rudd is up into the 7th spot when we start. Here's the break. Out in front goes the 27 car. Earnhardt eases around Waltrip.
Thinning out now.
Story is back here in car number 5. Underneath Schrader goes Rudd. Picks up a spot. Moves from 7th into 6th. Rudd closing. Remember, he's looking for a $220,000 bonus. Rudd goes to the inside on the 4 to Morgan Shepherd. Shepherd draws just about a half car length away. You can see that the front end of car number 5 shows a rumple or two.
That's right. He's running awfully deep behind his opposition. He's getting a little bit desperate, I think, at this point in the race. He's coming awfully close to the cars in front.
Backside of the racetrack. Around. Morgan Shepherd goes. Ricky Rudd closes up on car number 9. Mixed up in all of that is that car number 90.
Ernie Irvan following Bill Elliott now through traffic.
Around Shepherd goes Rudd. He takes over 5th and closes on Elliott. Bill Elliott's number 9 to the inside. Goes the Chevrolet on the 4 to Bill Elliott. Just exploding through the field. Moving up to 4th. Elliott drops to 5th. Ricky Rudd at number 5. Looking for that ultimate payoff in stock car racing. $220,400 in the skins game put up by Unical. $7,600 a race until someone wins the pole and the event.
And Rudd's, whatever they did to Rudd's car besides change tires, looks like it's working magic for that machine.
60 laps to go. 60 to go. Rudd, here are the leaders. Here is Rusty Wallace up in front. Dale Earnhardt in 2nd. Mark Martin in 3rd. And that's where the rub is going to be for Ricky Rudd today as he closes up on that trio.
That short back straightaway can contain the entire top 6 runners in today's race. That's how close this race has been.
11 cars remain in that lead lap. That front trio is Wallace, Earnhardt, Martin. All veterans, all champions. One slight miscue, and you'd be very doubtful to see it among this trio. Then there is a lengthy margin between the number 6 car and the number 5 car. Perhaps we can show it to you, the difference between Mark Martin in 3rd and what Ricky Rudd has to make up. There are some lap cars in there. Look at Earnhardt close in again. Earnhardt trying for that lead. Wallace looking for that win.
There's an interval of 2 and 28/100 seconds between Mark Martin and Ricky Rudd. Less than 3 seconds for Rudd to obtain 3rd place and then take on the leaders.
There's the front 3. Out of 4. Then you see those 2 lap cars, Waltrip and Kyle Petty, and there is the 5 car, and it gives you a perspective, a sense in this 3/4 mile track of the difference between them.
2:18, 2 minutes, 2 and 18/100 seconds, and Rudd is gaining on the leaders.
344 laps complete. Is there time enough for Ricky Rudd? It would appear that way right now, but how soon will those tires begin to fade? That's the issue for Ricky Rudd.
He lost a little bit that time, 2.5 seconds. Rudd's going high on the track. He's coming up now on Kyle Petty, who's been a tough man to pass so far on this racetrack.
Of course, what Rudd is looking for is one more caution. He'd love that.
Chris Economaki, we have the answer about the pit stop. Waddell Wilson wanted Ricky Rudd to come in. They did, in fact, take a gamble. They said they can take off on new tires, but cannot run that well on scuffed tires. They're hoping the other leaders would follow them in the pits, and they did not.
Pretty slick strategy there.
Could be the difference when this one's over. Now the 5 car. Ricky Rudd has moved around Kyle Petty in the 42. He has one more lap car that is running just a lap down and strong. 17 car of Waltrip to deal with, and then he'll have about 1.5 seconds to make up on these front 3 of Wallace, Earnhardt, and Martin. 17 lead changes among 7 drivers. TBS bringing you live flag-to-flag coverage of the Pontiac Excitement 400 from Richmond. Our next broadcast, Memorial Day, the race, the Coca-Cola 600 from the Great Charlotte Motor Speedway. Don't miss it here on TBS.
50 laps to go.
Front 3 still locked together. Wallace, Earnhardt, Martin. Interval. Closing up a little, isn't it, Chris?
Well, we'll check on our watch right now as they come by. Here's Wallace, Earnhardt, and Martin as we start our watch. And Rudd, 2.6 seconds. He's lost a little bit there. 2.6 seconds, and it seems to be holding at that interval. Rudd is going to have to find a little bit more if he wants that bonus.
car number 9, Bill Elliott. At number 15, Morgan Shepherd, 5th and 6th. Morgan's run an outstanding race. Both of these drivers have been playing that waiting game, knowing that there'd be hand grenades all over this place. This would be a minefield, and it has been. It's exploded on 11 different occasions. Caught drivers, they've waited it out, and now they're ready to turn it up. Into the final, 50 laps to decide it all in the Pontiac Excitement 400 from Richmond. Should be a dandy finish. Who are you talking to?
We need a tight shot of Rudd. That hood is wrinkled.
Yeah.
Tough fight.
Is there any more coffee in it?
Rudd, 119.22 miles per hour.
Fred, if we could get the front 3 cars, then glide back the interval to the 5 car, and then glide back to the 9 and 15, and then to the 26.
Rudd.
Thank you.
Rudd's losing ground, but stay on 5 a little bit so we can talk about the hood.
We can come back to that, Chris.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a good story. Yep. Okay. Okay. So cold. Yeah, he hit. We know what happened. Okay. Hit Morgan.
He's losing ground, right?
We're back live at Richmond, and the final run for the money here is well underway, and the proof of the pudding, as they say, is on the watch. Let's look at the fastest lap of the day. Ricky Rudd turned 119.22 very early in the race, and then ran exactly the same speed just before he made that pit stop. When Waddell Wilson Gamble brought him in, put 4 tires on. He's gone back out, and the watch now shows 22.97, 117.5 miles an hour, almost 2 miles an hour slower on the new rubber. It hasn't paid off. He's not gaining any ground. Let's update the story with the guys up top, Ken and Chris.
Well, the story right now is Rusty Wallace leading this event, looking for his 17th Winston Cup victory, 3rd in a row on this track. But he's feeling tremendous pressure from number 3, Dale Earnhardt, and number 6, Mark Martin. These 3 continue to duke it out for the front position. And behind those 3, the next door, here comes Martin down to the inside. The 6 car going up under number 3. That is Mark Martin making a move out of turn number 2, and it looks like he wants to go for it now.
It's a break for Rusty Wallace up front that Dale Earnhardt is so concerned with Mark Martin.
Getting about a 5-car length advantage is Rusty Wallace. To the outside goes Wallace. And Earnhardt closes the door. Big time.
That's right. Mark Martin is finding out all about this circuit here in the South. He's used to the ASA racing in the Midwest. Mark Martin is going to win one of these days. Today may very well be the day, but he's going to have to deal with Earnhardt and then Wallace before he can take a checkered flag.
Won at Rockingham a year ago in the fall. Tremendous victory. He should have had at least 3 others, but there are no shoulds in life or in sports, and came close for him. Now let's go back and take a look at that interval to the 4th place man. There you see that trio, and they seem to have stabilized for a second. Now let's wait, and there you see car number 5, What's the story here on number 5?
Well, he's 5 seconds down, but the problem is that he's bumped someone and wrinkled the hood, and the aerodynamic upset, I think, is slowing his lap time a little bit. If we could go in tight on number 5, you can see how that hood has been pushed back a little bit toward the windshield of Ricky Rudd's car that started on the pole, and it's the only one that can win that $220,400 bonus. There's the opening.
Steve Burns, what's the story on that?
Chris, we talked to Ricky Rudd's crew, and they said that he did, in fact, tag one of the cars on the backstretch from Chad Little's, but they say it is not upsetting his car, that he's running just as fast as he was a while back.
Well, according to the clock, that is not the case at this point. He has slowed down a bit. Behind the car number 5 was the 15 and the 9, and the 15 has backed up Morgan Shepherd's car. So number 9, Bill Elliott, is in 5th, and Morgan Shepherd has fallen into the 6th position. Here's the 5 car that is running in 5th.
Val Waltrip just passed Ricky Rudd.
So something is amiss on that car number 5.
That's right. He went from 2.5 seconds to 6 seconds behind Mark Martin.
Larry Pearson, 16, also running very slowly now with 366 laps complete. 366 down. Got a slow runner. That's Mickey Gibbs in the bottom of the track, just coming off the pace as Rusty Wallace slips by, and a good battle developing for second once again. Here is Mark Martin using the bottom of the racetrack, right down there against that yellow line in that 14-degree banking, and he whips that Roush car into second place. Earnhardt falls to third, 367 complete. Earnhardt's not ready to give this one up. No white flag here of surrender. He is willing to go all out now and try to just ride with Martin and get back after him in that last 20 laps or so.
Well, in order to beat Rusty Wallace, why, somebody's going to have to call on something.
Oh, he got a spin to the back straightaway.
Larry Pearson turning around, but he's on the grass, and there's no yellow yet. Going back on the track, and the race continues with 30 laps remaining.
23rd place car, Pearson back underway, 4 laps down. No caution. Number 6 draws away from the number 3. Martin draws away from Earnhardt in second place. Earnhardt in third, and Wallace continues to build on his advantage.
And now Mark Martin is starting to close the gap on Rusty Wallace.
Be an interesting situation if we get down to that last 10 laps and Martin can make up enough time, and I think he has the bit in his mouth now.
Wallace
else Jack Roush has taken away the bridle and said just run for it.
Wallace is facing traffic. There's 4 slower cars directly in front of him, 2 of them side by side in front of him, and here comes Mark Martin.
There's Wallace getting almost pinned in. Mike Alexander driving that Bobby Allison car. He's been doing an excellent job today. He is running, I believe, just a lap down in 16th in that new Ray Bestis car. There's one of the oldest sponsors in NASCAR, back in again.
That's right. They were the ones that were instrumental in financing the construction of Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania. They provided the money to build a test track, and it turned out to be Pocono International Raceway.
Here you see Martin in the number 6. Let's check the interval. He is in second spot, and we'll check the interval between first place man Rusty Wallace and Martin in second. Pontiac first, Ford in second. How about it, Chris?
1 and 19/100 seconds between the first and second place cars, Rusty Wallace and Mark Martin. We'll get it next time around to see if Mr. Martin is chipping away.
Alexander going a lap down again to Martin. That'll put him 2 down. Showing 11 cars in the lead lap as we prepare to decide this one. Let me review for you who they are.
1 and 16/100 seconds. He's knocked 3 100ths off, did Mark Martin on that last time around, gaining on Rusty Wallace.
There's Earnhardt in third, also lapping Mike Alexander. 4th spot is Ricky Rudd. 5th is Elliott. 6th is Morgan Shepherd. 7th is Dick Trickle. 8th is Brett Bodine. Then 9th is Jimmy Spencer. 10th is Ken Schrader. 11th Sterling Marlin.
1 and 3/100 seconds, and Mark Martin is on the run.
1 lap down in 12th, Darrell Waltrip. 13th is Kyle Petty. 14th is Ernie Irvin. 2 laps down in 15th, Mickey Gibbs. 50,000 fans, just about frozen solid, but enjoying every moment of it, Chris.
And
half a second between Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace as the Ford driver from Batesville, Arkansas, closes on the Missouri man.
24 laps to go. It's building for a finish. Here's Sterling Marlin going down a lap. Sterling Marlin, the 11th place car, has gone down to the first and second place machines. That leaves 10 cars in the lead lap. Schrader, the man of the bubble.
And now Rusty Wallace's mirror is full of Mark Martin.
There you see the difference as they lap Dave Marcus. It's about 3 car lengths.
And everyone has forgotten about Ricky Rudd.
We'll be back with more of the exciting Pontiac Excitement 400 in a moment.
Yep. He's out of it.
Yeah, he's backed up. $20 to go.
20 laps left. Martin going to win this.
He's going to have a fight if he goes up against him.
When are we off the air?
Whenever it's over. 4:30.
I think so. I thought maybe we'd have to. No, you can go. There's only
45.
19 laps to go.
Yes. Who do you want first? Okay, I want you to do the other way. Okay. Yeah. Let's... Okay, got it.
Whoopsie daisy. Larry Pierce is spinning again. Yellow.
Guess what? Just had another caution flag thrown because Larry Pearson blew a tire coming down the main straightaway, was not in contact with anything, but he has brought out a caution flag. That gets us up to number 12, and we had a situation developing where Mark Martin had closed to within a car length of Rusty Wallace, and we were anticipating a flat-out run for the finish. There are 383 laps complete. Let's see if anybody's going to gamble on coming in. They all are. Wallace is in. Martin is in. Earnhardt is in. Let's go to the pits and see what happens here.
Mark Martin has brought it in. They're changing outside tires. I believe Robin Pemberton gave the command to change just 2 tires. Let's see if they can get back out. Charlie Harvey.
They'll change 4 tires on number 27. I was all set to talk with Jimmy Maycar, but he is very busy now handling the air wrench on the tire change. They changed all 4 tires on number 27 and got Rusty Wallace underway.
Wallace out. Martin is out. Here comes the 3 back into it again. What a finish we are building for today. And let's not discount Ricky Rudd. You know how hot he is when they come out after these pit stops. They've had a chance to put on a couple of tires. He could get that bonus. Let's see what happens.
You never know how the cars are going to perform when they've been worked on. But Mark Martin only took 2 tires, and it looked as though Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace each got 4 tires. There's 15 laps to go. There'll be about 13 to go once the green flag waves. It should be a driving finish.
First man out was Mark Martin. He will have the lead at number 6. You're riding with Robbie Moroso as he's looking at the back end of car number 7, Alan Kowicki's crunched, collapsed rear trunk.
You know what could really mix things up are these slower cars that are going to be alongside the leaders. The leaders will have the outside lane, and the cars that are a lap down will be on the inside lane, and they could be the spoilers for the finish today.
Well, you get an idea of what these drivers are looking at on this racetrack with that sun glaring off those hoods through those stained windshields as we get ready for a go. Tough visibility out there for Moroso in the Crown car and for Dick Trickle as well. Getting ready to take green, I believe, next time by, which would be lap 386, leaving 14 laps of potential green flag racing with number 6, Martin up front, Wallace in second, Earnhardt in third, Ricky Rudd in fourth, Bill Elliott in fifth, Brett Bodine in sixth, and Trickle in seventh as they get ready to go. All in the lead lap. Also in that lead lap, Morgan Shepherd in eighth, Jimmy Spencer in ninth, Ken Schrader in 10th. Those are the cars in the lead lap as we get set to settle this one here on TBS. It has been something right from the outset. Biggest lead of the day, a second. And what, a quarter or 3 quarters? Which did you have, Chris?
It was just under 2 seconds, yeah.
All right, they're getting set for the start. Pace car is coming in.
Here it is.
This is it. 14 laps to go. 10 cars in the lead lap. Getting a quick jump. It's car number 6. Mark Martin is out in front. Rusty Wallace fades to the inside, cuts off Earnhardt as he tried to come up the bottom of the racetrack.
The only advantage Martin got by changing 2 tires was that little bit there. If he had 4 tires, his car would be handling better. Let's see what the 4 fresh tire cars can do behind him, but Martin is pulling away.
Martin pulling away with the Ford. Pontiac in second, Chevrolet in third. Driving gingerly down into turn number 1 as they try to get the heat back up in the rubber. Mark Martin drawing into the backstretch with a 3-car length advantage. We've seen him do it before and then fall back into the clutches of that Pontiac and that Chevrolet that are now second and third.
Interesting gamble on the pit stops. The Roush team elected to just take 2 tires. As a result, they got track position. Not only did Wallace and Earnhardt take 4, but Ricky Rudd also has 4 fresh tires. So the 3 drivers in pursuit all have fresh rubber, but the guy who's pulling away is the guy who only took 2.
Rusty Wallace in second spot has said that on the end of a race, at the finish of a race, you want to come off the 4th turn on the final lap with the tires on fire.
10 laps to go.
Let's see what's going to happen with 10 to go. Who's going to be on fire at the end of this one? Steve Burns.
With crew chief Robin Pemberton. Robin, everybody changed 4 tires. You changed 2. Why?
Well, we had to take a gamble. We're good in the long run. The car is really too tight to run in the short run. It may or may not work out for us, but track position with 10, 15 laps to go is really important.
Robert, are you as nervous about this win as you were the very first one?
I'm happy all the time about everything we do. We're just trying real hard.
8 laps to go. Earnhardt moves to the inside on Wallace in the main straightaway as he tries to come up through for second. And they touch, and Wallace goes high as Earnhardt collected a piece of Rusty Wallace. Earnhardt into second. Rudd goes into third. Crowd on their feet. Meanwhile, drawing away. Wallace fading all the way back into 5th or 6th. Wallace to 6th. Trickle up to 5th.
How can they stay friends?
Just racing. Martin stays in front. 10-car length advantage. Ricky Rudd in the 5-car closes in on Earnhardt. Friendships are over. Final laps. The money's down. It's at stake. 394 complete. Mark Martin continues to build a little bit of an advantage. Just a small cushion as we get to the end of it. It's on to Rockingham for these Winston Cup cars next. And they'll have some stories to tell after Richmond International Raceway here live on TBS, the Pontiac Excitement 400. 5 laps to go this time by. Martin in front and Earnhardt is closing. Now Earnhardt begins to draw him up.
1 and 12 100 seconds separate the leader from his nearest pursuer, Dale Earnhardt.
Off turn 2, Martin gets a jump and he pulls away again. There you see the interval between first and second place man. Car number 3, Earnhardt in second. There's that leader out of turn 4, and here comes in hot pursuit Dale Earnhardt and Ricky Rudd.
1 and 6 100 seconds. Earnhardt closed by 6 100ths of a second that last time around.
Elliott's 4th, Dick Trickle 5th. Wallace falling back after he and Earnhardt were in contact. 7th is Morgan Shepherd. 8th is Brett Bodine. 9th, Jimmy Spencer. 10th, Ken Schrader. laps running down. Mark Martin, who won his first Winston Cup race, Rockingham, North Carolina, at the Rock a year ago, actually this past November. Here he is looking for win number 2. And here's that second place man, number 3, Earnhardt, still trying to close it up.
As Mark crosses the start-finish stripe this time, he'll get the 2 laps to go signal. And here comes Earnhardt.
Earnhardt still closing up here at the finish. He fell back, and turn number 2 seems to be his Achilles heel. Down for the finish this afternoon. White flag next time around for the leader. And it is the Ford being driven by Mark Martin out of Arkansas that is staying up in front. Everybody harkens back to just a week ago when it looked like Earnhardt had it all locked up. And then, last corner, last lap, Dale Earnhardt had to settle out of the win place and show. Final lap here, the Pontiac Excitement 400. Mark Martin striving. He's been the strong car in the final day of practice yesterday. He's coming to the line. He is the strongest car of the day in the Pontiac Excitement 400. Mark Martin has won his second Winston Cup race. He brought it home. He put it to work hard when he needed to, and they are successful. The Jack Roush team takes their second career victory.
97/100ths of a second. The interval. Jack Roush is in Miami with the GTO cars at the race down there. I wonder if somebody's on the phone with him now.
Well, he was here this morning. I had a brief talk with him, and he was telling me early this morning at this track that as we watch the other cars coming in, here is the number 27 and the 3 car coming in. Here's Earnhardt coming in, and Rusty Wallace after they did their bump and grind up here on turn number 2. We're going to get back to get a word with that Jack Roush organization. They thought they had the right thing working to make that motor detonate properly on a cold day. They sure did it.
Don't have true value yet, I don't believe. We don't have it yet, do we? You don't have true value yet, do they? Working on true value.
Mark Martin has collected his second Winston Cup victory. He's down in victory lane. We'll be getting his thoughts here in just a minute. And you've got to give it just a half to the decision on the part of the crew.
Made the right choice on the last pit stop, got me out front. We knew we... Announcer list. To victory lane at Richmond International Raceway, here's Steve Burns.
With the victorious Mark Martin. Mark, on that last pit stop, everybody elected to take 4 tires except for your team, and it really paid off.
My guys, the crew won, the Folgers team just won the race for me right there. We had a fast car all day, and we seemed to stay behind, or couldn't make those last 2 passes on Dale or Rusty or whoever it might be, and we just couldn't quite get to the front, and it's a great way to start the year off, Steve Neal and Robin Pemberton and Jack Roush, and for Folgers and Valvoline, this is the way to do it.
What about that? Mark, it took you a while to get that first victory, but not too long to get win number 2.
Oh, it was great. Like I say, they made a brilliant decision there, got me out front. That's where we needed to be, and the car would fly. I mean, we took 2 tires on, took some wedge out, and it would just absolutely fly. I could have run faster than I was running.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark.
To Dave Despain.
Let's remember that that's Mark's second trip to victory lane this weekend. Yesterday, he went sliding in there with the front end all bashed up after he ran into those pilings at the end of the pit wall. Today, a much happier trip to victory lane. A consolation prize and a small one indeed for Ricky Rudd. Fastest lap of the day, 119.22 miles an hour, and everybody on the crew gets the Timex Speed Track for Ricky's driving performance. Let's go see what we can find out now about that battle for second and third.
There's Dale Earnhardt just explaining to Cecil Gordon and Richard Childress what took place, what did take place on the track.
Well, we did good. You know, it's a backup car, it's a speedway car, so we're really happy to come out second. You know, we got the bum with Rusty there a little bit, and I got under him, and you know, he tried to shut me off going in one, and I didn't give. I stayed down, and you know, he cut down, and it got into him, and you know, if he'd just give me a little room, we'd have raced on through there. But you know, I hate it. I hope he is not too mad. You know, I think he'll be all right by next week, maybe.
Dale Earnhardt explaining what happened up in turn one between the Earnhardt car and the Rusty Wallace car.
A final look at today's Pontiac Excitement 400 from the Richmond International Raceway coming up in a moment. So stay with us as the celebration continues for Arkansas's Mark Martin here at Richmond. Dave is doing the top 10. Dave's up first. Thank you. I'm not going to name them. I got one other thing I'm going to say after I start.
TBS Sports back live at Richmond, where a very memorable Pontiac Excitement 400 is over. One more consolation prize to take care of today, a $1,500 hard charger award to Rusty Wallace, who piled up the most lap leader money today. But Mark Martin came home with a big prize as he won the race. That's the story from here in the STP Pit Communication Center. Say goodnight, Ken Squire.
All right, look at the final standings. Thank you, Dave Despain, here today. And as you look at the final standings of the top 10 and the celebration continues for Mark Martin, it is time to bring up something Jack Roush has said. He says the key isn't cars, the key is people. And a friend of ours, Lula Rosa, has recently said, the man to be reckoned with in the 90s is Jack Roush. He ain't out hunting or fishing or golfing. He lives and breathes racing. And he breathes some life into this car here at Richmond that gave Mark Martin his second Winston Cup victory. Thank you for being with us today here on TBS for this exciting Winston Cup competition. We'll see you for the Coca-Cola 600 coming on Memorial Day. For Charlie Harville, Steve Burns, Chris Economaki, and Dave Despain, I'm Ken Squire in Richmond, Virginia, where Mark Martin reigns as champion.
Today's Pontiac Excitement 400 has been brought to you by Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer. We build excitement. And by Coors Light, pure brewed in the Rockies. The Silver Bullet won't slow you down. It's the right beer now. And by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference.